singles with unbroken skin or open sores similar to their own. It's called Last Shot.
If you're one of those people who's just ready to throw your hands up in the air and start a life with someone who has unbroken lesion-free skin, or on the other hand, if you're open to someone who has boils and abscesses similar to your own, Last Shot is perfectly calibrated to your needs.
Boasting a user-friendly interface and affordable dues of $4.99 a month, Last Shot simply asks users to log in, then click yes or no if they have open sores. Within moments, they're connected with hundreds of eligible singles who have comparable skin conditions. Reviews have been overwhelmingly positive. Arcuri hopes to one day introduce an upgraded membership experience, which would allow exasperated singles to filter for specific skin conditions.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. A little late in there because I thought that was like the first round of dun dun dun.
Is it talk radio that you control or talk radio you control? It's very confusing now.
Mark said last night
that you control. It's right there. It's okay. What did I say?
No, Mark said it was you control. Radio
right.
You control.
Right.
So.
Not that you control, just you control.
No, on the logo here it says Free Talk Live, it's the talk show that you control.
Oh, man.
But I've never said it like that, I don't think. It's the talk show that you control.
It sounds weird.
It was a reference to last night's show because Mark was discussing it a little bit.
Oh. I think it's silly that David likes to say it's the talk show that you can troll. Because it's like a pretty
That's a good one. That's probably one of the funnier things he's come up with.
If you listened last night, he made a joke, but
Talk
I just like...
radio you control.
I zoned out at like the moment he made the joke, and the other two laughed, and then Mark said, he's really good at telling jokes.
No, he's terrible. That was a good one.
Because I was saying, like, everybody knows him for being terrible at telling jokes. Please, like, somebody has to...
It's not even like dad joke bad. It's like get booed off stage, tomatoes thrown at you. You know, you don't get to finish your set bad. But that one, could have been a savior.
So, I listened to the show, but it wasn't memorable enough that I rember it. So it must not have been that good.
I don't remember it either. But it was also like, like a dad joke type of thing that made two dads laugh. But I would have probably laughed if I heard it.
Yeah, no, that's as far as like, intellectual intelligence in the joke, right? Like that's a good one.
Oh,
it kind of sounds right. It's got like the double entendre in there.
Talk radio you can
troll.
But I never say can troll. So it's silly. But also, I guess it's a better joke for a David joke. David is a regular caller. If you want to be a caller at all, you can call 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Richie Rich.
And we have so much to talk about because of the fact that Trump is president, just for one thing.
Trump is trumping.
What about all of the airplanes breaking in the air? That's not another one happened, but it's not exactly the same.
Two total, or another one after the second one?
A third thing I heard of today, but I don't think anybody died, but it broke in the air.
Okay.
Well, the helicopter that crashed into the plane, I guess there was like a close call just a couple days before that too.
What the heck is going on? Even my little brother works on helicopters in the Air Force, and he was talking today about how they're on, I don't know the terms, like the jargon, but he was saying something like, oh, we're on standby because one of our planes in the air last night lost a piece. And I was like, what's going on? Like with specifically military helicopters.
Maybe there were...
And he's not anywhere near that open.
Do you remember when all of the commercial planes were just falling apart?
Yeah.
Boeing, specifically.
Maybe they were Boeing engineered.
I think it usually goes
That
the other way
guy-
around. Like,
That roommate that I had that was like a secret heroin addict, he worked for Boeing.
oh wow.
Yeah. So,
It'd be like I'd be more trustworthy of his work if he was a secret like coke addict or something.
secret heroin addict.
I don't think I want heroin addicts working on my like safety and paying attention, and you know what I mean. I feel like
Maybe.
they'd be bad at
I
that.
don't think he was doing it at work.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
I don't think
I
you
don't
give
know.
addicts enough credit. If they're an addict but they show up for work,
I didn't know that
I
he
give
was
him enough
doing
credit
it.
for
Okay.
that when they're on uppers.
I didn't know that he
Yeah.
was doing it until after he had moved out, and he told me one day that he was like a secret heroin addict. So he probably did just fine.
Also, like
functional addiction.
I've never done heroin, so I don't really have any actual like I have like this maybe cartoonish idea of it. Like I have a friend that died smoking heroin, but he apparently like the rumor is that there's fentanyl in it. So like I feel like I have this like cartoonish idea of it being like, oh, it's really, really bad, and maybe, you know, a lot of times like the people you see in videos on heroin are like taking a crap ton, because like there are also people that act like they're absolutely out of their mind on kratom, and I do kratom.
Yeah.
And then you go and look at how many like milligrams are on it. I know they're in like multiple grams. So
You can be addicted and do it in moderation. You just
Exactly.
need to continue to do it.
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And I've also like I've been on like Percocet at work, and I remember saying like, oh, I'm the best at my job, like front desk at a hotel when I'm on Percocet, because no one annoys me.
See?
But not that that's exactly the same as heroin, but it's like, what is that, a metabolite of heroin? That's not the word. It's
Derivative.
yeah, like a derivative of opium, which heroin is also. I think
have-
that's the word.
I have no idea.
Opiates.
Yeah, opiates.
Yes. So
Mellows you out.
I think that is a really weird thing. Like I was almost thinking like, what if all this is happening because of like something going on with the sun they're not telling us about? You know, like maybe the sun's setting off some kind of rays that are like knocking planes out. But then again, the one was a lady running her plane into another plane, so that has nothing to do with the sun or anything crazy, you know?
The helicopter one?
Yeah, because she ran her helicopter into another plane. So, I mean, unless, like, you know, like, she's perfectly fine driving it and all of a sudden it just, like, lost control and no one could have taken... Who knows?
I heard
Well, you'll
something
find out
today-
because they'll have the black boxes and it'll give you all the
They
information.
have
yeah.
them, yeah. They have the black boxes.
Right.
And I heard today that the helicopter was higher elevation than it was supposed to be. So
Right.
maybe there was like something wrong with their...
And there's the conspiracy theorists that go like, well, look at this thing, and the helicopters can be flown remotely. Like they can do that now. So who knows if she had control at all?
Oh, I see
Could
what
have been a
you're saying.
CIA black op. Let's jump down that rabbit hole, YouTube.
I don't like that idea at all. And maybe it's something where sometimes I feel like they let horrible things happen, real or not, like actually happening or not.
Right.
So that way they can usher in a new thing. Like maybe they want to say like, hey, you guys don't want DEI drivers, right? Or flyers, pilots, right? Now we have robot pilots, you know, something like that.
It's already robot pilots. It's mostly
that's
like
true.
auto fly, or you know.
Yeah.
I heard
Cruise
Musk
control.
said something or like tweeted something right before this had happened saying like, oh, it's going to take a plane crash for DEI practices to stop or
Holy
something like
crap.
that. Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
That's the timing part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like both sides can blame the other because it happened on Trump's watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's been president for like 2 weeks now, and all of a sudden planes are falling out of the air
They were
because
already
he
doing that.
because he got
Earthquake
the
in New
FAA
Hampshire.
and he fired everybody and he canceled DEI, right? And Trump's going like, well, this is what I was trying to avoid. Because this is the result of like years of Biden DEI hires
Mm-hmm.
and incompetent people running the show,
and they can point to that, yeah.
and they can point to that. So
No, I completely
either
see
way,
that.
it's tragic.
Yeah, I can totally see that as being one of the...
I just like to blame the female
motivation.
pilot because I've seen women drive, and I go like, "You're going to put them in a helicopter now? You probably don't want to do that.
I think
They're
it's
going
funny.
to back into a curb or an airplane."
Last night, I don't remember which caller it was. It was somebody that I figured is not telling the truth. That was like, I'm a good driver, but like nobody else is. And I was like, everybody says that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I feel like I'm a good driver. I've only run into one pole.
I think almost
Only one.
I think almost everybody is a bad driver. There are a few people I'll get in a car with.
The thing is, like, as far as like my badness of being a driver, I think it runs more masculine because I'm always just like trying to get ahead, like driving aggressively instead
that's
of
bad
driving. But then there's also another version of bad driving that is more typically female, which is driving too passively, and they also cause problems. So I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that makes me a good driver.
I
or
consider
anything.
myself a good driver, and every accident that I've been in, someone has hit me. Like I've never been like, again, you guys know I text and drive, and I have since high school.
That's
so it's
bad driving.
It is bad driving, but it's
What year
never
were you in
resulted
high
in anything
school?
bad. What?
What year were you in high school?
I
to be
graduated in
texting?
'99.
You had a phone?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had a flip phone in 2000. Okay. My mom got her first phone in 2007. So that's really shocking to me. And it was like it's this one that like tons of people have that was silver, and it said, dang it, what did AT&T used to be? It started with a C, like singular. It said singular on it.
Yeah, singular wires. Okay.
And it was like actual buttons, and you had to
didn't
click
have
each
one
button.
because you were like a kid.
No, I didn't have one. I backed up from what I was saying. My first phone was like 2011, and I shared it with my sister, and it also had physical buttons, but it was like, oh, this one's cooler. It flips sideways and shows you a full keyboard.
That was my first phone too. It was a Envy.
Was it
Right.
purple?
No, it was orange.
And it was
I
a
don't know
lot.
what
Here's
mine
what I'm
was.
saying. It was a lot easier then because it wasn't illegal, right? So like, I had whatever phone I had, and I would just rest it on the top of the steering wheel, and I could see the phone. I could see in front of me. I could still check my peripheries, and I would just type up there.
I'm insane.
Right.
So like, I won't even let Stu change the music. Like I will do
Okay.
that. You
Yeah.
tell me what to do.
No,
and I'll
no.
do it.
You can, passenger princess, but you ride in the backseat then. 'Cause
I'm like up
I'm
to
the
my-
master of the front.
I'll do whatever
I
you want me to
control
do.
everything.
It's just I'm going to do it for you.
But now I've got my phone down by my leg so the cops can't see it, and I'm like glancing up and down, typing with my thumb, and there's no tactile buttons, so I really got to be careful. Luckily, there's like autofill.
I haven't had any problems with cops noticing me on my phone in my whole life. I used to think about that a lot in San Antonio, but I guess it's because I had no thing to hold my phone. Now my phone sits by the steering wheel, like being held by a thing, and I feel like it's so much easier to type.
Probably.
But I'd still really keep it to a minimum because, like, unless it's really, really important.
No, but I'm not like doing it
me out.
while swerving in and out of traffic, right? Like when there's no car directly in front of me,
Yeah.
and I'm on the road, and it's a straight shot, and there's no curves or bends or turns.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how
you
I feel
can glance
too.
down, you fire off, and you use the autofill to,
Like, I drive down 12, which is like just directly going south from Keene, and a lot of the time it's totally safe. So during that time, I might be doing a lot on my phone. Then I get to 2, a large highway in Massachusetts, and I'm not touching my phone, maybe to change the song.
See, that's all fine and good until you look down for a second and a deer jumps out in front of you or something like that.
Yeah.
And that you didn't see because you were looking at your phone.
But I feel like that could totally happen with me looking at the road too.
But you have a better chance of stopping if you're actually looking.
But I've never
I've
not
almost hit
looking
a
at the
couple of deer
road.
without my phone, and also turkeys here.
The other thing is, like,
So-
I can always
turkeys,
see the
whatever,
road.
They're going to lose.
You're
that
still
fight,
gonna hit
but
'em.
The deer is going to mess your day up.
Back when
Maybe.
I hit that pole, it was such a freaking weird day. I kind of blame tubing because I was out all day
Watching
for like
Tubi.
5 hours now, like 5 hours tubing in the San
tubing.
Antonio
Okay.
heat. And I went and picked up my car from
Sunstroke.
a place that they were working on the brakes. I picked it up and went and drove off the lot, went to go start doing Postmates. And I also blame not having a thing to hold my phone because I have my phone in my freaking lap. So I'm literally, I can't even peripheral see the road. I'm looking in my lap to turn on Postmates real fast. It doesn't even seem humanly possible, I tell you. Like, it didn't seem possible that I could have possibly went off the road in that time. It seemed like it took like the click of like 2 clicks with my fingers, and I was just looked up at like my car having hit a pole.
Yep.
It's like I didn't hit anybody else, and it's like.
And I would just blame you being a woman.
And the problem was the reason that it happened like 100% or like the biggest percentage of the reason was, okay, I'd say the biggest percentage was that I wasn't looking at the road. Second biggest was I was going at a very slight curve, only like 25 miles an hour. That's why it's crazy that it totaled my car. And I guess I underestimated the curve while not looking, and I felt like I was doing it, but apparently I was going basically straight.
Like 25 sounds like it's not that many miles an hour, but it's pretty fast if you come to a stop like
Instantly.
abruptly.
And that's the thing, it was like it wasn't just a stop sign type of pole. Like,
Right.
those are like kind of weak, like you can kind of bend them.
Right.
This was a very strong pole, and it was even more pointless of a pole. All it told you was like what county you were in. I remember just being like, why is this pole even here? Like, if this pole wasn't here, I would have went off the road. It would have been scary for a second.
Who plants trees next to the freeway?
And somebody called the freaking police on me saying, oh, I was just worried about you. And then the police started saying that they were like possibly going to get me in trouble for breaking that pole, but nothing ever came of that. Yeah, nothing ever
No,
came
they
of
do that. Sometimes they
Really?
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a civil matter, though. It's like, well, you wrecked it. You were,
I even said to the police officer,
I already paid for it.
that's so true. I even said to the police officer, I was like, this is literally the most pointless poll ever. Like, if you made me pay for the poll that just says something like that. It was like, what county or something like that. Like something you'd never even know or notice or like look at or need. Definitely not in a freaking shopping center.
If I have to pay for the poll, can I at least get my name on it?
Yeah.
You now know the name of the county. Brought to you by Bonnie.
Brought to you by
Richie
Bonnie.
was here.
Just Bonnie. Like, they know
New
who I am.
poll. I think they. Oh, where is this? I think they do that in like Australia or something.
Really? Put your name
something
on
like that.
polls?
I don't know. It was like, if what was it? I forget the article. It's like a popular tree or something. And if you vandalize the tree, then they replace it with the pole with your name on who vandalized the popular tree or something like that. So they
I think they're poplar.
shame you.
trees.
Yes.
Why did we start talking about driving? Oh yeah, because we're talking about female drivers.
Female helicopter pilots.
Ever since that
Backing up
experience,
in airplanes.
I would also say I've gotten way more careful because like I would never look at my phone in my lap anymore. In fact, the idea that's like terrifying. Like I don't think I could. I like technically should have said I couldn't back then, but I continued to do it for a long time. Like I would do Uber Eats with my phone in my pocket, or not my pocket, my lap.
Everybody thinks that they're a great driver, and everybody thinks they're not going to get into a car accident. But if that was true, there would be no car accidents.
The other day when it was like
Nobody
snowing,
leaves their house like, yeah, I hope I hit a tree today.
the other day when it was
Right,
snowing,
but
really
I'm
bad,
confident that I'm not going to hit anything or anybody. I can't say the same for like other people hitting me because that's been my experience.
I'm not even going to say I'm confident of that, but it's definitely not because of texting. Like I literally only like text a lot when it's like totally safe. But I wouldn't say that there would never be like an accident. Like this one time, this car went to go like get into the lane I'm in, not seeing me. So I guess I was in his like blind spot.
Got to honk at him.
And I did. And I almost had to like hit the freaking guardrail, just kind of like slow myself down at any means necessary until they got on my way. And when I passed them, I gave them a look, and they actually like waved and like did it like a sorry type of thing. It's like lift your hand up kind of abruptly and nod your head down, trying to kind of describe it to them. Yeah, and I was just and I think he even like mouthed sorry.
Yeah,
and that's never happened to me in my life.
At least he took responsibility.
Can you believe I was in Massachusetts?
No.
People don't believe me, but I think the best place in the world to drive is Western Massachusetts.
Oh, that might be true. Okay.
Not Eastern.
All right.
It gets crazy over there.
I only think about Boston when I think of Massachusetts, as far as driving.
Exactly.
Okay. But like when I got my last accident was like last June, right? And I got T-boned. I had the green going through the intersection. Everyone wrote it up. It was the other guy's fault. Their insurance covered my damages. But when I got hit, right, I got turned in such a manner that I was still accelerating because I was going through the intersection. And I was like now facing a pole, and in that short span of like bam and recovery, like I recovered, I didn't hit the pole, and I like parked it right into like a parking stall on the side of the road and waited.
Nice.
Right. So, I don't have like the reaction time of an F1 driver, but even in those situations, I'm like, I'm not going to hit anything. I got hit.
The type of people who they get in a car accident, they're like, well, now my car is just going to stay in the middle of the road. We wait for the cops. It's like, can you get over to the side? Because I'm pretty sure you can most of the time.
That car waited in the middle of the road because their front end was like totaled. They, I had like
sometimes
door damage, and
I wouldn't look at a car like that and say, hey, get out of the way. But there are sometimes you see like a freaking fender bender, and they're just sitting there making hundreds of people late to work.
A lot of the time they wait like that so that way they have proof that the other person hit them because of how
take pictures and move the
happened,
car.
Right?
Take pictures or have a freaking thing on your car, like a camera. I took mine off recently, and I don't know how to start it back up. And Ian keeps trying to give me directions over the phone, but
also that's why I pulled. I recovered and I pulled into a parking stall off the side of the road. I wasn't blocking anybody.
And you're just in Manchester. People do this in San Antonio, Texas, in the what's it called? The corridor between San Antonio and Austin, where they're literally making, I'm not joking, like 1,000 people have to wait on their ass.
Okay.
And they're just sitting there. So it really pisses me off. It's so stupid.
Yep. It's very inconsiderate.
Okay. One thing that's happening in the news that I definitely want to talk about, I don't think I even got to talk about Ross enough last night. That was like the main reason I wanted to be on the show last night, because I hadn't been on since Ross got freed. Mm-hmm. And so that person is Ross Ulbricht, for any listener that's not aware yet. I'm sure like every libertarian is aware. I'd be
Yes.
shocked if a libertarian wasn't aware, but some listener might be unaware.
We were all like waiting with bated breath on social media for someone to announce it.
Yes.
On Trump's first day, and then waiting around all day the second day or the full first day.
I don't even care if it counts as a second day. Honestly, to me, one thing
As long as he did it.
One thing that Angela McArdle said is that they got way behind schedule, according to his staff. So it does. I don't feel slighted at all. Like somebody said, "Oh, this is kind of an insult to the libertarians." I was like,
"No,
I don't feel insulted that Trump freed Ross Ulbricht."
Right.
That's crazy.
If it went into day 3, though, I would have been a little upset.
I would too, because at that point I'd be like really playing with our emotions, because I genuinely was constantly refreshing and then going like, okay, I'm getting worked up and need to go distract myself, and that was over 24 hours.
Yep,
more than 24 hours of that.
And you weren't the only one.
Right.
I guarantee you, there's a whole bunch of like they traded their vote. Like I'm going to vote for Trump, and he's going to free Ross. That's the transaction.
Yeah,
that's the deal on day 1.
So, like I said, when everybody was like, "Oh, he didn't do it on the first day," that he said when he was doing it that they had a bunch of commutations, which is what Ross's was supposed to be.
Yes.
And if the commutations weren't working out right, they were going to give him a full pardon. And that's what happened with Ross, is he got a full pardon. And I think there was some kind of
that makes up for it a little bit.
I think there was some kind of problem, and so he had to readjust everything, and that's why he got the pardon.
Wow, that's lucky for Ross then.
Even better.
Wow, yeah, it's so much better. And like on top of those two things that are great, like that he freed him at all, that he gave him a pardon instead of a commutation, he also wrote on social media that the people who went after Ross were scum of the earth, or maybe just the word scum, and lunatics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I can't believe this is real. I seriously, from May until now, I can't believe this is real. In May, I was driving away from the Libertarian Party convention while Trump was speaking, and I wasn't driving, I was riding in the car, to be clear. And Mark texts me, because he was in the audience, Mark texts me, "Trump said free Ross." So I instantly pull up the video, and it was like you could already see the video, and I was playing it, and the person driving was Colin, who's on the show sometimes, and we were laughing and like literally like screaming, like we were like, oh my god, he said that, and like everything he said, because it was so great the way he made fun of the Libertarian Party, which I mostly hate.
Endorse me, or just go get your 3%.
Like losers.
Losers.
Maybe he said losers. But he basically said losers if he didn't literally. But he said, that you guys are going to get your like pathetic 3% if you don't endorse him. Oh my god, that was so great. We couldn't believe that was real. But then, a whole maybe like 6 or 7 months goes by, or it has to go by, of us not being sure if he really meant it, or not being sure if maybe he was going to be mad about the Libertarians booing him in the crowd. Like I was even thinking that.
I don't think he cared.
I could see somebody like Trump doing that, at least like the caricature you see of Trump, like, oh, everything is about his ego.
But now that Ross is free, you have to accept all the bad stuff.
I already did.
All the immigration issues, all the tariffs. Like this is also the price you pay for having Ross out of prison.
I've always said that Trump, since I've been on this show, I've always said that Trump does tons of bad stuff, and I just wasn't really calling it out much in the last few months because I wanted him to get elected.
But now Ross is free, so we got to start calling it out again.
Yep, I was never going to do anything different. 603-283-6160, and more interesting things he's doing, because there are some things that are kind of good he's doing too. Coming up, it's Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crimes Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the United States' top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be, quote, some pain for Americans. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she didn't want conflict with the US, but would take measures to defend her country's interests. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he would match Trump's 25% tariffs on a raft of US products and materials. Canada's ambassador to the US, Kirsten Hillman, told ABC's This Week that these tariffs will jeopardize the close economic relationship the two countries share.
Canadians are perplexed, I think disappointed. We view ourselves as your neighbor, your closest friend, your ally. We will be implementing 25% tariffs on U.S. products. This is not something that Canada wants to do. This is not a path that we are interested in going down. We are actually interested in being and continuing to be your best customer.
Meanwhile, China says it intends to file a lawsuit against the US in response to President Trump's announcement of a 10% levy on Chinese imports. Scott Carr reports from Washington.
Calling the new tariffs a serious violation, China's Commerce Ministry says in a statement the lawsuit will be filed at the World Trade Organization and that China will take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its own rights and interests. In 3 executive orders, President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and raised tariffs by 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday.
US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. Last week, 67 people were killed when a helicopter and a passenger jet collided mid-air over Washington, D.C., and 7 others were killed when a small plane crashed into a street in Philadelphia. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Secretary Duffy said the system needs overhauling.
We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system. Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II.
US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said that immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Secretary Noem insisted that immigration and customs enforcement officers were only targeting suspected illegal immigrants who'd committed crimes.
You know, if you look at what we are doing today is targeting the worst of the worst. We've been very clear on that. The priority of this president is to go after criminal aliens that are making our streets more dangerous.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. And 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And I would like to thank Joe for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Joe went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks to Joe and everyone who supports us. And again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. And thank you again to Joe. We really do appreciate everyone who's an amplifier here at the show and supports us in any way, even listening, especially calling in. We love when you call in. That's what the whole show is all about, really. Yesterday we got so many callers that the show never stopped changing topics, which is kind of fun in a way. And with you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Richie Rich.
And we already have a caller on the line, so let's see who this is. Caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hello.
On-screen caller.
Hello, yes. Yep.
That's you.
Weirdness on the phone there.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, I just wanted to say
Bonnie's
great
voice.
show as always. I'm happy for Ross Ulbricht, but I hear a lot of libertarians who voted for the poop puppet Trump there, that claiming that they would have voted Libertarian if another Harry Brown was the candidate instead of Chase Oliver. And to anyone who makes that statement, and I've heard a lot of them say it, can anyone identify even one issue where stinking Trump is more libertarian than Chase Oliver? Or can anyone tell me where Chase Oliver departs from Harry Brown's positions? He was, and your one vote was never going to be the deciding vote for stinking Donald Trump versus Kamala. But what it does show for a minor party like the Libertarians is one more person, one more unit of support, one more possibly helping to get ballot status in some states where now they're going to have to, if you don't reach a certain threshold of votes, they have to go out and collect signatures again and waste all the money. And just, I hate it when I hear libertarians spend all their time talking about these stinking Republicans.
I gotta say, I hate it when I hear little L libertarians talk about the big L Libertarian Party all the time. I think it's a waste of time, and I would love for it to disappear tomorrow. I would love for it to go away.
You want the Libertarian Party to disappear?
Yes.
Or okay.
Not small L Libertarians.
I can understand. Why would you want the Libertarian Party to disappear more than the stinking Republicans and Democrats?
Because right now,
somebody wanted the Libertarian Party to understand.
Because right now, Libertarians. Do you want me to answer your question? Because right now, the Libertarians in New Hampshire, the people that care about liberty, I'm not talking about big L or any kind of label, like somebody who would call themselves a libertarian. I tried to stop calling myself it because I don't want to be affiliated with the party. But right now, the people who care about freedom, let's just say that, are running as Republicans and easily getting in and easily getting things passed. And if we decide that we're like what? Well, in New Hampshire, things are happening that are not happening in other states, like mostly the things that the Libertarians take credit for are things like getting our gun rights to be even better. That was like all the way back in 2011.
Occupational licensing reciprocity. That's a big one.
And then also the education freedom accounts. It's slow going, sure, but the big L Libertarians have nothing to show for it like this.
Yeah, are you sure that this doesn't have it? I've done a little bit of research on your program, and I love the program, by the way, but I've noticed that it only gets picked up by Republican affiliates. Like a lot of I look on your affiliate list there, and I see a lot of Glenn Beck. I see a lot of Howie Carr. I see a lot of these. I don't see any Democrats. To me, it seems like somehow that the Libertarian Party has been infiltrated by a bunch of stinking Republicans. I call me crazy, but I just don't get it, man.
So, I don't know what that has to do with
let me take a shot at that one, because it's been said, and you can feel free to disagree with the sentiment, that cable news and cable TV is for the liberal mind, and talk radio, being like a higher intellectual pursuit and takes more time and energy to pay attention to, is for the conservative mind. So you find more talk radio shows that tend to lean conservative, and you find more cable news and those types of shows that tend to lean more liberal.
The other thing is, Ian tries to get us on any station. You think
but you're not going to find
a
lot of liberal talk radio stations.
You're not going to find a lot.
They don't have a market.
And they are way more like, I'm only going to do my communist that I like. That's a huge problem.
They're going to be like, you guys want guns? Nah.
No.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
They're way more, exclusive. That's the word.
All right, for the gun issue, for instance, the reason this Democrats want to ban guns is because largely, or in part, because many stupid conservatives, and what you say conservatives, man, that means Republican, liberal. I wish people would just call them Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals.
Democrat cable news shows and Republican talk radio shows.
DNR, Republicrats, and they're all poop puppets. And because their stinking war on drugs has created the same kind of miserable violence, which has created a lot of this gun violence. And so the Democrats use this to try to ban guns like idiots, but they work together symbiotically. I'm telling you, man, that what I can't figure out is why people call themselves libertarian, spend their whole day yammering about Democrats and Republicans all stinking day long instead of having their own people on. Like, why did you even have Chase Oliver on this year? An interview?
I don't think he would have done it. He refused to go on multiple people's show.
It's also an open phone show, so at any time Chase Oliver wanted to get on the air, he could have called.
And when Jo Jorgensen came on, she came here and was extremely milquetoast. I just don't think of these people as like the heroes that you do. I think of people who are really
I didn't
good
call
on
them heroes. I did not call them heroes.
I think of the people who are like really good on liberty are the people I hang out with in my daily life. That's the way I like to live. I don't like to,
What were, if you recall, because I don't, what were some of Chase Oliver's like anti-liberty positions that would have separated him from Harry Brown?
I never have made any kind of point like that he was like, he's not libertarian enough. The thing I didn't like about him was far more personal.
What was like the COVID and the mask and all that? Okay.
And then when he tries to walk back on it, he's lying. Like, I've seen and read what he said about the masks. He said, he didn't say, you should be mandated. It was about a personal thing, and it still bothers me. He said, I'm going to wear my mask to my less than 10-person gathering at Thanksgiving. Okay, I might be getting one little detail there wrong because I'm going off memory. Right. And you should too. Now imagine this person has power during 2020.
So it's also an integrity thing.
It is an integrity thing. And the other secondary part to that is that he went on a Twitter space with, I think it was like Dan Smith or somebody fighting against him, somebody else fighting against him, in this Twitter space. And he was like, and besides, back when I said that, all I said was, and he said something different than what it says.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was that he claimed, but I went and put the exact thing that he had said and then the quote of what he said. And I was like, how can anybody listen to this freaking liar? Like, if you're a liar, I'm not going to think of you as like some kind of like hero or like, oh my God, this type of person that I need to put above Trump, who's also like a liar, but he admits it, one. And two, I think that he has this idea that a whole bunch of libertarians think Trump is going to save us and he is libertarian. And I don't see people say that. I think it's so weird. That's something that a bunch of the leftist libertarians keep trying to put into the people who voted for Trump to free Ross's mouth. As if I seriously don't think I've seen one person say like, you know what, I think Trump is a libertarian. And they keep trying to make it seem like we're saying that.
Well, and so as we get into the articles that you have, right, in a lot of his executive orders, he's done a handful of like libertarian things.
This thing I'm going to get into is like a Malay level thing.
Okay.
Like pretty freaking good.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I think he is a libertarian. Right. And I could even completely agree with the idea that more of what he's doing is bad than good.
And that's why I also said before we went to break that we have to consistently point out the bad stuff because the transaction's over.
And
you
it's
bought
like
our
the second
votes,
show
you
I've been
freed
on.
Ross, like transaction complete. Now you're an a-hole again for all the bad stuff you're doing. And we'll golf clap you for some of the good stuff you're doing that, may or may not advance liberty depending on how you see it.
Yeah, and I am less of the mind that, we should like boo him if he's in front of us trying to make a deal and stuff like that than some people. And I've been that way since, like, if I was going to be in that crowd in May, I was already saying, like, no, I'm not going to boo him.
Well, if he comes in front of the libertarians and goes like, we're going to finish the wall, right?
Yeah,
boo that SOB,
sure.
Right? And if he says anti-libertarian things, boo him.
But if he's like, we're going to get rid of Department of Education.
Yeah, cheer for that.
Yeah. They cheered before he even started talking. I would have, and the thing was, I didn't expect people were doing that.
Like, yeah, go for it, dude. Let's do it.
And one thing that I've said since the beginning, because I told you, me and Colin listened to that speech for the first time, I was saying, and he was saying, we were like, oh my God, I bet he doesn't even know who Ross is, and he's just seeing the picture or the signs, and he's like, sure, I'll give you free Ross, whatever you libertarians want, just get me my power. And we were making that joke, and then it turned out to be somewhat true, because I listened to the Tom Woods show where Angela McArdle went on and explained like the whole story, and she said when she first said to him at a dinner like over a year and a half ago, all right, if you tell them that you'll free Ross Ulbricht, then they're definitely going to vote for you. He said, who is it? I'll do it. I love freeing people. It's like he didn't know that it wasn't a murderer, like a triple baby murderer.
I mean, he freed all the J6 people without any consultation or
Almost.
Almost?
Oh, really?
Almost all of them.
Okay.
There were some people who didn't get a pardon.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
I thought it was like a blanket pardon.
No.
Me too. Well, we do have a caller on the line, and that's what it's about. I feel like I got everything I wanted to say about what the last caller was saying out. I feel like Trump derangement syndrome is a thing. I
But it's on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. There are definitely people who are like, Jesus wants Trump to be in office and he's doing everything right. And then
ordained by God because you clipped his ear.
And that
God
is pretty
moved
crazy.
his head slightly, so
Right.
he
And
avoided the bullet.
I think it's pretty crazy that anybody thinks he's like a perfect person and doing everything right, sure. But it is also just as crazy to start screaming because you're so upset that Trump is in office. Like, oh my God. I hate how all of these people like threaten to move for 4 years at a time and they never move. And it's not because I'm like, oh, if you don't want to change things, then you should leave. But they're actually threatening it. They're like, I'm seriously considering moving to Canada. It's like, please.
Well, bye.
Yeah,
seriously.
Nobody cares.
Well, we have a caller online. Dave Ridley in Colorado, I think. You're on Free Talk Live. Dave, what's on your mind?
Yeah, so was that us? Was that you and I that talked? I know I called in about this, but I can't remember who was on the show. But this thing that Melissa Blasick is really worried about. She's a former New Hampshire state rep, and her big issue is these things, these like federally funded health clinics and schools.
Mm-hmm.
I vaguely remember you bringing that up before. So
health
go
clinics
on.
in schools.
Yeah. And I think I think what we ended up talking about the last time I remember the conversation was, well, just don't accept the federal money and you don't have to follow the federal program.
Yeah, she uses the term, quote, school-based health clinics, unquote.
Okay.
And this is Melissa Blasick. She talks about that from Reopening New Hampshire.
Yeah, and I don't know if she requested this bill specifically, but I guess there's been some follow-up now in the form of the bill to try and limit these possible federal clinics in schools. So it's House Bill 656, and whoever it was writing at Reopen NH. I'm sorry, it's rebuildnh.com. Usually it's her writing, but sometimes it's somebody else. Anyway, it's rebuildnh.com, and they say, quote, this bill is part of our efforts to put up guardrails concerning school-based health clinics and any other potential education poison pills that could come from the federal level, unquote.
Okay.
I wish I knew more about it, honestly.
Yeah, what does a school need a health clinic for?
I mean, there's always like nurses. Is that the same thing?
It's not the same. Nurses are like, here's an ice pack and some Tylenol.
It's probably the trans thing and getting like
kids on
gender affirming care in schools when they're young against the parents' wishes.
Yeah,
that's never been a thing.
Don't know and can't consent to it.
When I was in school, that was never a thing. It was literally
it's a thing
just
now.
a nurse. Yeah. No, I'm just pointing out it must be new.
Right. We had a nurse and she was like, you could be like, oh, I have a stomach ache, and she's like, put an ice pack on and lay down in the dark for a little while.
I don't think I ever had to go to the nurse.
Everything. Ice packs for everything.
So yeah, if that's the concern, again, I'll just reiterate what I did the last time, which is good, because if you don't accept the federal money, you don't have to follow the federal program. Like that's the quid pro quo with the federal government.
Right.
They offer you the money, and then you take it, then you get addicted to it, and then you have to follow the rules, or they take the money away.
Mm-hmm.
And New Hampshire has like successfully resisted federal money, especially for roads and highways, which is why we don't have the seatbelt laws and the helmet laws and all that other nasty stuff, right? And if you can get something in there to resist federal funding of high school education for whatever reason, it's one less thing that they can use to rug pull you later and have you on some stupid federal program.
Yep, I hope they do that.
So what Rebuild is claiming here is that the superintendents of schools will sometimes list the federal grant as what they call anticipated funds and just bypass the whole school board approval stuff and just kind of do it themselves, right? So this specifies and makes sure that any federal grant exceeding $20,000 is unanticipated, and you can't just say, oh yeah, we'll take it.
Oh, just lower it to $1.
That's a really good idea.
Why $20,000? Make it $1.
That's a good point. But
any federal grant, more than $1 is unanticipated, and we got to talk about it.
That's pretty. I mean, like, I still think that's a pretty good new bill in general. But I would also agree with Richie Rich. Why $20,000? But maybe that's just how expensive these things are. Maybe that's like a real cheap one.
Even so, I don't care, right? If you don't want the federal funding and you want to talk about it, set that bar low.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially if you're like the Libertarian and you want this to be a liberty thing, right? Why are you mitigating it so far up?
I don't really think she is. She's more like just a Republican. But anyways,
hard to tell these days with all the Libertarians running as Republicans, Bonnie.
She's not a hold on. She's not a state rep. Is she, Dave Ridley?
She's GOP, or at least she was a GOP state rep.
No, but I mean, she's not anymore. Is all I was asking.
She currently represents rebuildnh.com at the State House. She's a lobbyist.
Yeah, and thank you, Ridley, for the call. You can go to daveridley.com, or ridleyreport.com, sorry, and you can find his interviews with Melissa Blasik and other people, but I've talked to her in person. I also knocked on doors for her from Young Americans for Liberty, but of course that doesn't really say anything about whether they're Libertarian or Republican. They're mostly Republicans. I got so, like burned by doing that. I'd be like, so I looked into this candidate, guys, and, like, she is pro, like, forcing women who were raped to not be able to have abortions and stuff, and they would just be like, yeah, well, so and it's like these are way more Republican than just Libertarians. But anyways, and I've talked to her in person, and she like yelled at, like, she at least raised her voice because I was asking her the question, was she going to support CACR 20, I think is what it was called, that was a secession bill. She was like, you activists want us to support this, and
she got elevated and accelerated with Bonnie.
She did. And I wrote a very truthful article about her that she didn't like. And I'll do it again.
freekeen.com.
Actually, it was on it's just libertyblock.com.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
I might have, like, cross-posted, but Liberty Block gets more views. So I definitely made sure that I could post there. And it was really cool, Valu, because he didn't, like, want me to post it, but he was like, I'll let you post it if you really want to. So that's really cool. Like, he didn't want me to attack
Guest
her.
editorial?
Yeah. So he doesn't, like, control people on there. I think that's really cool of him. And so Melissa Blasik, I think that's a good bill. It sounds like she's just one she's supporting. I don't know who's, like, actually put the bill in, because, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. She's not a state rep right now. She was back in, like, 2022 or 2020 to 2022. And I think we should get into this Trump thing.
Just keep the feds out, and we're good.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do.
Why you're against secession at the same time, make it make sense. And that's why I'm saying, like, I really don't think she's, like, counts as a libertarian that ran as a Republican.
Okay.
In my opinion, she's just a Republican. There were other things back then. I was really, like, focused on her, like, paying attention to how she voted, because I did not like her. But she also got an A+ with the NHLA. But there were tons of things they wouldn't touch that year. So that's why I think it was things that annoyed me, but she still got an A+. And everybody else is like, hey, she's a net positive. I just don't want to actually support just Republicans.
Well, but you end up supporting just Republicans because that's currently where the Libertarians are running to get into office.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you just have to go to town and vote Republican. I didn't do that.
Okay.
I only voted for the one whose name I knew from Ian, and the other ones I left blank. Other than Trump, but that everybody knows, everybody listening should know, that I made a deal with Trump, basically. I only voted for him because he said he'd free Ross, and I was never going to vote federally again, and probably never will.
So I don't vote, and I never have, but, like, if I was going to vote, I don't think I'd even look at, like, what the letter was next to somebody's name. I would only vote for people whose platform aligns with what I want.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do that research? Nobody does that research. That's the problem.
That's why I don't vote.
Okay.
I definitely did.
I don't have the time or effort.
No, because you left some blank
to do that.
Right?
That's because they're not good.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know they're not good. In fact, like, in Keene, they've been the same ones for, like, every year that I've been here. And the one that I did vote for, that Ian liked, it was only really because the only thing I really knew that he liked, or he was good about, was that he supported Ian's secession thing, but also knew he would not win, and he didn't.
So here's the reason, though. Like, I wouldn't vote for somebody based on what they have next to their name, is because the same thing that the Democrats and the Republicans do is where they take, like, little steps and little steps and little steps and little steps towards whatever goal
totalitarianism and authoritarianism.
Right. So if you want to get to liberty, you have to take those little steps too. So if you find somebody, who cares what the little letter next to their name is? If they have things that align with what you want, then vote for that person.
Yeah, like, in all reality, if my option was, like, if it was real close and I was in the district for it and I had to vote for Melissa Blasik or, like, a horrible Democrat, I'd probably vote for Melissa Blasik.
Okay.
And I personally don't like her. And so that's where I'm at, basically. But at the same time, I probably will never vote federally ever again. I don't see this happening ever again, where, like, oh, maybe next time it's going to be RFK and he's going to say, I'll for Ian this time.
Trump said we never have to vote again, so don't worry.
Does that mean he's going to be president forever?
I don't know. That's what he said. He
said,
dictator on day one.
He said, vote for me this time and you'll never have to vote again.
Was that like a slip up and he meant to say never have to vote
I think
for me again?
I think it was in a speech to, like, the Amish.
Oh.
and he was saying it to them, like, just do it this one time and never have to do it again. But it's just a funny thing to say.
That's crazy and funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This election is too important. We need all hands on deck.
Well,
and the Amish went and voted for him.
Earlier in the show, maybe not the segment even, I said that this thing that I'm about to get into that Trump did is like Malay level good, libertarian, and cap, I'd say.
Okay.
And, okay, fine. And cap would mean like...
Anarcho-capitalist.
It'd be even further. So let's just say it's like Malay level libertarian in office, good. Trump, this just in, and this is Gateway Pundit, a reputable news source, whatever. It says...
Don't minimize the shtick.
It says,
a reputable news source.
Oh, whatever. It says, Justin, President Trump signs executive order requiring agencies to eliminate 10 existing regulations for every new regulation issued. That is so freaking hilarious and glorious. It's so good. And the thing is, like, that scares me about every single good executive order that's come through is, like, who knows, maybe it'll get challenged and it won't be the case. Mm-hmm. But I like that they're even getting threatened with this. But I think
the power of executive orders to begin with.
Yeah, that's
bypasses
maybe not ANCAP. Like, in and of itself, sure.
Right, in and of itself, because it makes him a dictator. Right, it bypasses the bill creation process. It's supposed to originate in the House and go through the Senate or vice versa, or whatever. Then get signed in the office by the president. Like that's the system. How a bill becomes a law.
I'm no constitutionalist.
It's also like kind of a weird way to do things, unless you just think that your party is going to be in control forever. Because if you do things through executive order, the moment someone else gets in there, they could just take it back,
which is like 4 years from now.
But you never have to vote again
if you're Amish.
So
that's something that Jeremy Coffin said was kind of funny. Yeah, the exact point you're making. He made this executive order that made it to where, now you're, I guess it's like the flow level is what they call it, how much water comes out of the toilet, is now increased again. It was decreased under Biden. And Jeremy Coffin said, this is great and all, but doesn't anyone else see how insane it is that the way we determine how much water is in toilet is by the whim of some man every 4 years?
No, but they did that and they screwed it up because toilets used to be 5-gallon flush, and then they went, we need to conserve water, and then it became a 3-gallon flush, and everyone flushed twice.
Yeah,
so it's like 6 gallons every time instead of 5.
There's a whole episode of King of the Hill about this.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this happened, and I didn't even know that this was the thing that the president was worried about.
It's not even that new. This was like at least a decade or two ago, where they changed the tank size and flush rate.
I feel like maybe I'm just not that perceptive about toilets.
Okay. If it's yellow, let it mellow.
More.
No, it ruins your toilet.
More is coming up. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More Free Talk Live coming up. You can call in with whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Rising fees have made Bitcoin useless for purchases. But Dash continues to have fees less than 1 cent per transaction, and its features ensure Dash is undefeated as the most useful cryptocurrency in the marketplace. From a technical standpoint, Dash transactions are irreversible, and its network is protected from 51% attacks by their Chainlocks technology. There's no need to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at Dash.org. Big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit Dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the United States' top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be, quote, some pain for Americans. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she didn't want conflict with the US, but would take measures to defend her country's interests. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he would match Trump's 25% tariffs on a raft of US products and materials. Canada's ambassador to the US, Kirsten Hillman, told ABC's This Week that these tariffs will jeopardize the close economic relationship the two countries share.
Canadians are perplexed, I think disappointed. We view ourselves as your neighbor, your closest friend, your ally. We will be implementing 25% tariffs on U.S. products. This is not something that Canada wants to do. This is not a path that we are interested in going down. We are actually interested in being and continuing to be your best customer.
Meanwhile, China says it intends to file a lawsuit against the US in response to President Trump's announcement of a 10% levy on Chinese imports. Scott Carr reports from Washington.
Calling the new tariffs a serious violation, China's Commerce Ministry says in a statement the lawsuit will be filed at the World Trade Organization and that China will take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its own rights and interests. In 3 executive orders, President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and raised tariffs by 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday.
US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. Last week, 67 people were killed when a helicopter and a passenger jet collided mid-air over Washington, D.C., and 7 others were killed when a small plane crashed into a street in Philadelphia. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Secretary Duffy said the system needs overhauling.
We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system. Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II.
US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said that immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Secretary Noem insisted that immigration and customs enforcement officers were only targeting suspected illegal immigrants who'd committed crimes.
If you look at what we are doing today as targeting the worst of the worst, we've been very clear on that. The priority of this president is to go after criminal aliens that are making our streets more dangerous.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, fresh questions about whether the war between Russia and Ukraine really is heading towards a conclusion. President Trump indicated on Friday that discussions are underway at a high level between Moscow and Washington. He would not be drawn on whether he has already spoken to Vladimir Putin about the need for peace negotiations. But some analysts are wondering whether there really is sufficient impetus for the Kremlin to wrap up its military campaign. Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell is a military analyst and co-host of the Red Matrix podcast.
There was a hope that Putin would be prepared to negotiate with Trump, but the question is why? At the moment, Russia is on the front foot. It is winning. Ceasefires generally only happen when one side wins, the other side loses, or you end up with stalemate. It's a boring military strategy, but the fact is Russia used to do frontal assaults. Now they're encircling villages and towns along the way, strangling the Ukrainians out of them. Now, this takes months, normally 6 to 9 months, but the Russian military are going ahead. So there's no evidence at all that the Russian military are preparing for a pause anytime soon, despite the fact there's a lot of sort of air of expectation that Trump will be able to bring this all to a halt, and very soon.
It will fall to retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg to see whether Moscow and Kiev can be prodded to the negotiating table. He is President Trump's new special representative to Ukraine and Russia. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the US's top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be some pain for Americans. US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. And US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. And that's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
Shortly after having sexual intercourse with a prostitute earlier this afternoon, local man Jacob Reynolds told reporters that he never expected the experience would bring him to new heights of emotional and spiritual fulfillment.
I was convinced that having sex with a complete stranger behind my wife's back would leave me feeling drained and empty on the inside, but my self-esteem is through the roof.
Reynolds, who said he paid $150 for a 30-minute block of time, said that his moderate expectations for the encounter were instantly surpassed by what turned out to be a deeply personal sexual communion that transported him to a new plane of emotional intimacy.
I've never felt a stronger sense of spiritual connection. When our bodies met, there was an immediate sense of familiarity and comfort that just washed over me. I think it was the most meaningful experience of my life.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. No, I'm just kidding. that one irritates Chris Reitman. He's like, who wrote that one? It has so many repetitions of LibertyMinded.com.
What was the name?
LibertyMinded.com.
LibertyMinded.
Check out the ANCAP gear. I like their ANCAP logo.
I really like the website, and I like both of the Free Talk Live jackets I have. Wait, I have like 3 now, including one I took from Ian.
I still need to get one.
I've got their ANCAP logo tattooed on my arm, like before they launched.
I see.
So
in my brain autocorrected that to the Free Talk Live logo. I was like, whoa, I need to see it. Okay, so
take my shirt off later. In the summer when I wear short sleeves.
Did you ever do Topless Tuesday with Ian and Conan and Arya? No. I'm like it's difficult enough to come out here more than once a week, especially on a work day. Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, in the last segment of the show,
Shirtless Sunday.
We could do Shirtless Sunday.
Shirtless Sunday, Sunning Sunday. In the last segment, we were talking about this executive order that Trump did, and it's just one. There's so many to talk about, but I really want to read the language.
And that again is part of the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
So many.
This one, the language is just so fantastic. When I was reading it today, I was like, "Oh my god, is this fake? Is this fake?" And it doesn't seem to be fake. Like it popped up from other agents, other
reputable news sources.
And one time somebody was like, "Bonnie, how do you know that what you're reading is real?" I was like, "Well, it's on the news, so I know it as much." And they're like, "Just because it's on the news," I was like, "Dude, come on, you don't think that 9/11 didn't happen, right?" Like, okay, whatever. There are definitely people that think that, but like,
AI is taking over.
The idea that
I have a story about that.
Days and days would go by and Trump wouldn't have come out and said, "Hey, I didn't do this," and every news agency you think of has posted a story. Like, don't take it that far, dude. In fact, it almost erases the actual genuine people who are like, "Hey, I'm questioning this and that." You see what I'm saying? When you go way too far, like, oh, I don't even know if this executive order actually happened. I wasn't there. You know, it's almost the same thing to me as
I went on the official government website and I looked at it and I saw the text version of it. Oh, you're not going to trust the official government website.
Oh my God, yeah.
All right,
that would literally be something someone would say.
Yes.
They're literally, if people think I'm exaggerating, I'm not.
Because we surround ourselves with autistic libertarians
and
conspiracy theorists.
So glad that they think for themselves. So glad that they don't just believe everything they say. But I'm just saying that one was like taking it way too far. I don't even remember the topic at the time. I was like, dude, I said I know it is as much as you can know because I saw it on CNN. You trust everything CNN says? Oh my God. So
next time
silly.
they're like, were you there? Be like, yes, I was
No,
there.
I don't trust everything CNN says. But when I see it on CNN and I see it on Reuters and I see it on the AP and I see it on Fox News and I see it on CBS, and they all have like the facts the same, right? Not the commentary, not the editorializing, but the facts the same. Then like, man, yeah, it's probably true.
And we're talking about something like, oh, Trump signed an executive order. I don't necessarily believe something that's like this crazy mass shooting happened. I'm not going to believe every single detail just because it's on multiple things, you know? Like, I don't even necessarily...
why do you believe this one?
I don't necessarily believe, like, Sandy Hook happened the way it did.
Oh, man. Now you're in on the hook for billions like Alex Jones.
Oh, I've said it like 50 times ever since
Bonnie's
Alex
on the
Jones
hook
got in
for
trouble.
$50 billion.
I think that is something that's like... we got to say it now because it's
question the narrative.
You're not allowed to say it. Then you've got to say it. So
if you can afford to say it, the Onion's going to buy InfoWars because he said it.
If they actually tried to like make me pay them money, I would never pay them money.
Okay,
I can't imagine why anybody would. So
I think eventually, if you don't pay them, doesn't something else happen? Like.
They'll put a lien on your property,
they put a lien on
sell your assets.
Yeah, if you have like a government like regulated job. They actually talked in court about wanting to take his cats. Did you hear about that? Yeah.
No, what?
I can't remember if they like actually ruled that they were going to.
Not my cats.
That's insane.
Yeah. And he was like, those are my daughter's cats. Even they want to take my daughter's cats. I was like, these people are evil.
That is evil.
So
that's like just simply to
harm.
Be cruel.
Yeah, be cruel.
Well,
nobody
don't
wants his
slander
cats. They're not
people.
worth.
Why not?
It's not like they're, like $1 million cats.
They already sued him for everything he was worth. You don't need to take someone's cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, like, if he kept his mouth shut, they wouldn't
I don't think that's
him.
worth it, though. Like, maybe you could say, hey, keep
the crime. The punishment didn't fit the crime.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Not even the amount of money.
Not even the amount of money.
Take all my supplements, but just leave my cats alone.
It's like if you're going to claim that just hearing the words like the Sandy Hook shooting was fake are giving you emotional distress, you want to spend the next 2 years fighting it in court. Those two things don't add up.
Okay.
You can probably move on from that. Hearing some words you don't like. Oh my God.
See, that's a problem though with
they're crisis actors.
With saying words you don't like is something that's punishable.
Exactly. That's why I was like, I don't understand why he's like apologizing. I would never stop saying like, this is wrong. This is America. What the hell is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why he started like apologizing and stuff like that. Alex Jones, it almost felt. I
thought we
weird.
had freedom of speech.
Yeah, legitimately. How can words hurt you in a way that you can actually prove in court?
Doesn't slander have to be something that like harms your?
I don't think they said slander. I'm going to pull it up.
Monetary standings.
I don't know. Slander and libel, I get confused. One's written, one's...
Yeah, slander is spoken, I think, and libel is written.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about that
But
one.
either way, right, like when you, at some point, I think you have to be responsible for your words. Mm-hmm. And this goes into like, well, how can words hurt? Well, you can be defrauded because someone gives you bad information.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing.
That's not what happened to them. They just got their feelings hurt.
Okay.
They said that they claimed damages.
In this case, yes, but you said how can words be damaging? Well, because you can be defrauded with words.
No, it's not that I don't think you can't damage someone with your words, but like just because you hurt someone's feelings should not be something that you should be able to
sue about,
bring retribution for.
But is it feelings hurt, or is it because he was providing what they consider to be a false narrative repeatedly?
That does what?
Knowing it was a false narrative.
But that does what?
Now, I know that's
it's
the thing.
Defrauding people of correct information.
There's tons of people. There's tons of people going on the internet and saying all the time that my husband is a fraudster, including the government, when he's never been convicted of fraud.
Wouldn't you like to be able to sue them to stop them?
Not really. And the other thing is, like, how could I possibly say that has damaged me? I don't understand. Like, oh, well, like, okay, well, maybe if I'm trying to get money off my husband being in prison, and then...
I went to the bank, and the bank denied my claim because of my association with fraudster Ian Freeman. I put in a rental application for a new building, and I was denied because of my financial association with Ian Freeman.
Well, the other thing is, like, you can actually prove that Ian did not get charged with fraud. You can't prove that what Alex Jones's theory is not correct. You can't prove that, you know?
Yeah.
So
you can't, but it's like his theory versus the official narrative.
Do you really think that, like, they were losing money because Alex Jones said, "Hey, it was a hoax"? Like, what money were they losing?
No, it just hurt their feelings.
I'm trying to pull it up though, because it would be great if we could figure out exactly what they claimed and talk about it. But I do want to talk about this Trump thing because
Go for it.
The language in it is it's like hilarious. It's like Trumpy, but of libertarian flavor.
Wait till she gets one sentence in and then change the topic.
So it says,
please call now.
The topic is the title is President Trump signs executive order requiring agencies, so that's, like the FDA, any 3-letter, most of the time, agency, to eliminate 10 existing regulations for every new regulation issued. And it says that he signed it Friday and it was called Unleashing Prosperity Through Deregulation. UPTD. Okay, I was just seeing if there was anything there. Which calls for agencies to identify and eliminate 10 existing regulations for each new regulation created. And one thing about this is, say they change it in 10 years. I mean, not 10 years, 4 years. Well, we have 4 years where they either are going to be giving out less regulations because they're avoiding this, or they will significantly shrink their number of regulations if they really want to put some out.
Right.
So that's actually something that I don't even mind it being an executive order.
It's a freedom window.
So the quote from it: "The ever-expanding morass of complicated federal regulation imposes massive costs on the lives of millions of Americans." And this is me talking. That's an important thing to bring up, because it's like, think of any time you've tried to start a business, maybe you have, and all of the money you realize you have to pay in order to get these licenses.
The red tape, the bureaucracy.
Yes, that is an example of a time that a regulation has costed you money. Anytime that you want to flush your toilet once and it be effective, and you have to flush it twice and now you're paying more money, you're flushing 6 gallons instead of 5, that is government regulation costing you money. I'm happy that he started off with that. It's like kind of right to the point. So let's continue. It says that the ever-expanding morass of complicated federal regulations creates a substantial restraint on our economic growth and ability to build and innovate, and hampers our global competitiveness. Despite the
what also hampers global competitiveness?
Tariffs.
Tariffs.
That's true. So yeah,
before you issue a new tariff, you have to eliminate 10 tariffs already on the books. Like money where your mouth is, Trump.
That would be so great if he had to do that. Like
he just passed a regulation.
If Biden put that in right before leaving office, I'd be happy with that. That every time Trump tried to threaten a country with a tariff, he had to delete 10 tariffs off. I'm cutting into Russia's tariffs, but I'm still gonna
end sanctions. Yeah. Every country you sanction, you have to unsanction 10 other countries you previously sanctioned.
But the thing is, like, Trump's whole thing, and I'm not defending him, I'm just saying where his mind is probably, is his whole thing is like, oh, we want to create we want to make it easier for Americans to make money here in America. But I feel like he's not.
You can do that by eliminating tariffs.
Not that he's not smart, but I feel like that there's like more steps to go to get to the point where you realize that also tariffs also affect Americans.
Yes.
And he thinks that the good outweighs the bad, like in the case of he tried to send some Colombian people who were here illegally back to Colombia, and they said, no, we're not going to take them. And then he threatened them with a tariff.
Right.
And then they changed it immediately. So he's saying that the good outweighs the bad because he can get things done. But
I did a podcast on Saturday, and I talked to my economics professor friend and my other friend who pays attention to this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say they set me straight because I trust them anyway, but they were very clear that particular situation had nothing to do with the Trump tariffs.
Oh,
and
I just got that story told me yesterday.
Understood. So I'm gonna clear it up because it was on the air yesterday as well. And this is their explanation to me about how the situation actually went down. Colombia would happily take back immigrants, but you can't transport them on a military plane because if a military plane lands on Colombian soil, it's an invasion. And so the Colombian, head guy, the president there, the man in charge there.
He's a murderer, by the way. I Googled it.
He's a murderer, like whatever. He can't look bad in front of his people as bending the knee to Trump. So he goes, we're not letting you invade Colombia with your military transport. Do this correctly by sending them on a civilian transport like you have always done in the past when returning immigrants. So they sent the planes away, and then Trump acquiesces and sends them back on, a civilian transport, or Colombia went and picked them up. Right. But it was, they still got the immigrants returned. There was no invasion of Colombia. And the Colombian strongman looks good in front of his people as having thwarted Trump's.
But did Trump actually not threaten them with tariffs at all?
He did. But that was Trump posturing, knowing that they were going to come pick for his people. Right. So both sides are posturing for their people so they don't look bad. And it was probably set up like that from Trump from the beginning. We're going to send them back on military transports, knowing that they were going to turn them away, and then Trump could sanction them with tariffs and look strong with his tariff threat.
But the tariff's not there anymore, is it?
No, because they send it back.
But there is one on Canada
and Mexico.
And Canada and Mexico have retaliated with tariffs. And there's one on China now, and China is going to take them to some kind of
international court
arbitration with the trade organization for the world. I forget what it's called.
World Trade Organization.
Probably.
And the problem with that is Trump understands that it's harmful, and what his thought process is, it is harmful in the short run, and then the other person backs down, and then it's beneficial in the long run because you open up trade in the long run by threatening in the short run. But if everyone doubles down and no one backs down because China needs to look strong and Canada needs to look strong and the Mexican chick president needs to look strong because she's a chick, right? And standing up to the big bully Trump, it's a thing.
It is, especially if you ever have to deal with prison guards. It's a freaking thing, almost cost.
I didn't know her name until earlier today when I was reading about all of this stuff.
I just call her the Mexican chick president.
Scheinbaum.
Okay. Whoa, so she's Jewish too.
So it's
that'll trigger Dave.
What a strange name for the Mexican president.
There are a lot of Kaufman and Guzman. You might not think of Guzman as a German name, but it is because it's so incredibly intertwined with Mexicans now because there's so many Mexicans with that last name. And I'm not saying anybody you meet with the last name Guzman is Jewish, but that's where it came from. A bunch of German Jews were in Mexico. I don't really remember the time period, but
I would assume right after World War II.
And they brought polka there, and that's why banda sounds the way it does.
Okay.
So Canada and Mexico are taking totally different approaches to the tariffs too. Mexico's this isn't the solution. We need to talk about it. Let's sit down and talk about it. And Canada's we're taking all of the American alcohol off the shelves. And
wait, Canada? The one country I feel won't end up acquiescing is China. I feel Canada and Mexico, maybe they'll double down for a few months or something.
Depends how strong their economy is, right? You have to have a strong economy to absorb the hit.
Mexico wants to talk about it, and they're it's not our fault that fentanyl is coming over there. You guys are sending things here too, and but Canada's just
we covered a story 2 years ago that said that it's officially the case that more weed at least goes over the border from the United States to Mexico than vice versa.
That's probably more the case with the legalization because now we have grow houses that can support better quality weed.
Yeah.
Whereas before it's you're going to get busted. You might as well get it from the Mexican cartel.
So.
And all your other drugs from the CIA operatives.
But I feel why would China back down? They have all of the manufacturing and a billion people,
right.
They do have a lot of customers here though. A lot of customers in the United States. Everything comes from China.
But it's also a communist government that doesn't care about their own people.
Well, they care about their money, though, and
Right.
some of that is their money.
But they can tax their people anyway and just run the people into poverty to absorb that
Haven't
hit.
they already done that, though? You can only get so much blood. You know?
I get it, but they've got $1 billion. We've got 300 million.
Mhm.
So they could go 3 times as hard.
How
right?
will they sell their Temu, though?
to other countries.
Only Americans will buy the lead encrusted Temu goods.
I don't know.
I haven't been back to
They
Temu
probably
since I
operate in
learned
Europe.
that. Yeah, I hope more people know that about Temu.
Sell it to India. There's like 1 billion people in India.
Yeah.
Find your market. Right.
The billion people in China selling to the billion people in India and vice versa.
It's really
Kinda funny.
whose economy is strong enough to take the hit, and whichever economy it is, it's the average person that suffers.
Yeah. And that was one of the things Canada was like, fine, we just won't deal with you anymore. We're going to make some new trade partners.
Yeah.
So
I feel like they'll fail.
This is what you would do if
I mean,
you
like,
didn't want to deal with that.
I feel like they will fail, and so will Mexico, and they'll end up trading with us again. But that's just a feeling. I could be wrong.
And that might happen, right? But that would bolster Trump's position that yes, we just have to outlast him, right? Who's going to starve first? We've got more money and resources, so we got food for the winter. What do you have?
He just keeps saying things like, "Come on, be the 51st state." Come on, Canada.
It's going to be Greenland before it is Canada.
I would much rather it be Greenland than Canada. I don't want a bunch of Canadians to be Americans all of a sudden.
I just don't know why they're limiting it to one state. Canada already has a bunch of provinces. You could get 7 or 8 states out of that thing.
Yeah, and we would probably like Ottawa, but
and you don't even need
British
all
Columbia,
of Canada because
that's a good
most
one.
of the people are right at the border, right? You could take the bottom fifth of Canada, get all the people, and leave the Canadians all the icy stuff up north.
I can't remember if it was Ontario or British Columbia. One of them is removing alcohol specifically from red states.
Okay.
So anything that's manufactured in a red state is coming off the shelf.
All right.
All of a sudden, I couldn't remember which one was the one that's more conservative up there and more kind of rural. Is that British Columbia?
British Columbia is on the western side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
I don't know which
probably
one it
more
is.
liberal, I would assume.
I know that
Because of its proximity to Washington, Oregon, California.
Ottawa has the capital, so
Okay.
that's probably bad. And then I think Ottawa also has Toronto in it. So that's probably
Toronto
bad.
is Ontario.
Oh, Ontario. Okay, there's 2 O's.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at their states.
It's okay.
No
Yeah, I
interest
don't
in
know.
going there,
Provinces.
honestly.
I only know Chilliwack, and that's only because
Okay.
I had some gamer friends that lived there a way long time ago.
That's a
the only
Quebec.
place I know.
province?
No,
Quebec.
no, it's
Oh.
just like a town.
I was like, never even heard that one.
New Brunswick.
Nova Scotia is pretty easy if you're looking at a
Oh,
map
Nova
because it's
Scotia, I know that one too.
pretty. The only really uniquely shaped one.
If you know more than 10 Canadian cities, please call.
Oh, and cities, no, probably I don't know 10 cities.
Probably more cities than provinces.
It seems like so many of them are really likable people that you find on the internet and stuff, but
Yes.
still once they start talking politics, you're like, turn this lady off. It's just bad. It's a whole bunch of really low information midwits. I'm sorry, even though they seem I love her style and I like watching her put her makeup on. It's she'll start to say something, you're like, oh my god, it's horrible. It's nobody up there thinks for themselves, but they are literally the subjects of the British rule, and they just don't care.
They
Imagine
had all
not
their
revolting.
money changed a few years ago because Britain got a new crown.
Oh wow, yeah, true.
That's how bad it is.
So
I don't know much about Canada, just that they have loonies and toonies.
Okay.
And they have cute accents, and it's cold.
It is cold. That's why you don't need all of Canada. I don't know why you need the northern country in Canada. There's nobody up there.
I mean, it's colder than any colder state, even in their warmest state. That's terrifying. It's a bunch of Minnesota.
Yeah, but you still get a summertime in Minnesota.
Few months or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
that's how long summer is. Just a few months.
I have a friend
and
from
there's
Minnesota.
spring and fall and.
When I got up here from San Antonio and it was getting the 40 degrees and I was running to my car and being like, it's so cold, and she was laughing at me. I was just you don't know what kind of hell you live in, because this is bad. But now I'm used to it. Now I feel 40 degrees is almost warm.
It is.
603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live. Call in with whatever is on your mind. You can change the subject. You can comment on what we're saying. You can yell at us and I'll probably drop you like the first guy. It's Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the United States' top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be, quote, some pain for Americans. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she didn't want conflict with the US, but would take measures to defend her country's interests. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he would match Trump's 25% tariffs on a raft of US products and materials. Canada's ambassador to the US, Kirsten Hillman, told ABC's This Week that these tariffs will jeopardize the close economic relationship the two countries share.
Canadians are perplexed, I think disappointed. We view ourselves as your neighbor, your closest friend, your ally. We will be implementing 25% tariffs on U.S. products. This is not something that Canada wants to do. This is not a path that we are interested in going down. We are actually interested in being and continuing to be your best customer.
Meanwhile, China says it intends to file a lawsuit against the US in response to President Trump's announcement of a 10% levy on Chinese imports. Scott Carr reports from Washington.
Calling the new tariffs a serious violation, China's Commerce Ministry says in a statement the lawsuit will be filed at the World Trade Organization and that China will take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its own rights and interests. In 3 executive orders, President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and raised tariffs by 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday.
US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. Last week, 67 people were killed when a helicopter and a passenger jet collided mid-air over Washington, D.C., and 7 others were killed when a small plane crashed into a street in Philadelphia. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Secretary Duffy said the system needs overhauling.
We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system. Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II.
US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said that immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Secretary Noem insisted that immigration and customs enforcement officers were only targeting suspected illegal immigrants who'd committed crimes.
You know, if you look at what we are doing today as targeting the worst of the worst, we've been very clear on that. The priority of this president is to go after criminal aliens that are making our streets more dangerous.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. You can call in. You can really bring up whatever's on your mind. You can change the subject. It's fine. You can tell us what you think about what we're talking about. You can tell us something you've wanted to tell people. Maybe you want to get it out there. and hear what other people have to say about it. It doesn't matter. It's Free Talk Live for a reason. And we've been podcasting since podcasts began, but we're launching a new podcast anyway. Our new podcast is a 30 to 45-minute show releasing once a week, and you can find it at freetalkcast.com. It's brought to you by the same people who bring you Free Talk Live, and we'd love for you to check it out. The existing radio archive isn't going anywhere. This is just a new show designed from the start to be a podcast, so check it out at freetalkcast.com. And with you on Free Talk Live, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Rich.
And we definitely have other things to talk about, but I really wanted to read this, and I feel like it's brought up so many topics. But if you guys want to talk about something else, we can definitely do that this segment.
It's one of the better executive orders.
It's really interesting to me. It's kind of bringing me an insight into like the way Trump was taught to think about things. Like taught. I don't know the man, so it's like I've always kind of assumed he
at
had
the Wharton Business School or Harvard.
No, I mean, in the last few years, it feels like. It feels like before he didn't even have any, theory and just did whatever he thought people would, And now it feels like somebody has got to him and been like, hey, this and that. And he has some kind of actual theory going on. Yeah, I'm not saying he has my theory. Right. Completely get rid of the government type of thing. But he called the people who went after Ross Ulbricht lunatics and, compared it to what they did to him, and now he is saying regulations are bad for Americans.
So I think
it's not very president.
I think what happened was he didn't expect to lose the second time that he went for president, and then he lost, which hurt his ego, and then he had all the lawfare against him, which also showed him something that he didn't know happens, and so he got not only his ego was, rallying for a comeback, but also he was like, I'm going to get back in there and I'm going to show everybody what I can do.
As not a politician, his first term, he didn't know how to be a politician. And he was on the defensive for 4 years because they tried to impeach him right away.
Yeah.
And then he spent 4 years defending against the onslaught of political attacks. And then lost, right? And so now you've got the Trump revenge tour,
right?
And he's coming back with revenge because and it's his lame duck presidency, so you don't have to worry about him running again. He's not going to get voted out. He survived all the impeachments the last time, right? They impeached, but then
and they don't have a majority Democrat this time.
And he's got that going for him, so they can't do much,
right?
And so he's just unleashing everything. And he might be doing it early just in case they try.
And I don't even blame him for the thing you said. You said something happened to him he didn't know happens. I don't really blame anyone for that because it feels like that's the way a lot of people wake up to things. I was straight up just a normal Republican, basically just I don't get why poor people don't just make more money. Really, really bad Republican. There's never a reason to come over the border illegal. You're breaking a law. Type of Republican, although not involved in politics at all. It's just my personal thoughts lean that way. And the only thing that piqued my interest was the fact that cops went after me and totally railroaded me in this silly little small town thing. And then I was just does anybody know that cops are like this?
It's what it takes.
Does anyone know? And I'm Googling and I'm whoa, the cops are killing people and stuff. People need to hear about this.
So I feel the crazy thing is that's how most people used to come to it, but I feel everyone's getting radicalized all together now because so many things are happening right out in front of everyone's faces all the time.
You're getting radicalized or doubling down. During the people who went along with COVID, everything that got revealed and all the way to, it was released from a lab in Wuhan, they didn't go and get radicalized. They had to double down in such a disgusting way. I feel you have to be a freaking robot.
I think it's funny that they came out and said that just a couple days ago. It was absolutely released from a lab.
Conspiracy theorists for the win again.
I didn't even know that.
And that's what I'm going to say. Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
It was in a press conference today or yesterday. They came out and were yep.
And is this Trump's people were hey, we're going
to... the press secretary for Trump came out. She
Carolyn Leavitt.
Yeah, She came out and she had a bunch of things I was watching earlier today, and that was one of the things that she said. Like, yeah, it came out.
It's so weird. I've technically met her, but I was like so uninterested. Ian got invited. I don't even know how he did this. He got invited to speak at a Republican meeting, which was huge. It was like all the Republicans in New Hampshire went up to this place, and I don't even know what town it was in anymore in New Hampshire, but it was like very like it looked like a very kind of like.
And Ian was invited to speak.
Yeah,
wow,
there was someone that he got friendly with. It might have been Therese Grinnell, who's now Therese Bernarch or something. And she let Ian go up there and speak, and he was like, "Sure, I'll do that." And he went up there and spoke about secession to roaring applause of a bunch of Republicans.
Well played.
And there is video of it. And I had Coconut with me. And Ian was talking to this blonde lady afterwards, and I was just like distracted. Like I wanted to go home, and like I was just like, okay, Coconut, let's go outside. And so I technically sort of met her, but now she's not Ian's. She's Trump's press secretary.
So that speaks to my thing that I was saying.
Ian's on its blondes.
About like it doesn't matter what letter is next to their name. So if he went up there and spoke in front of all of these Republicans and they cheered about secession, right?
Yeah.
And then say one of them brought secession, you're not just going to not vote for them because they're a Republican.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what do you mean?
Would you? I don't vote.
I don't vote either.
But like, I feel like that would be a silly thing to do. You're fighting against your own interests.
Oh, I see. You're saying like, oh, well, yeah, but the other thing is like...
You run into the problem of what you said earlier, which is like the tiny steps, right? And the Libertarian...
You gotta take your own tiny steps, though, too.
Well, but your own tiny steps is always voting for like not the bigger steps.
Yeah.
Because the Libertarian's not going to win, so you're not going to get tiny Libertarian steps. You're going to get tiny Republican steps or tiny Democrat steps.
Who's the one that's not Mises? Sorry, the one that's not Mises, the other one, Rothbard.
Rothbard? Okay.
He has the only article I've ever read by him, because I just like don't care to go read those people. Like if I've watched like all of Tom Wood's videos, I'm pretty sure I've gotten it, you know.
Yeah,
but
you've said that, and I really think you should like pick up some Rothbard.
Whatever. I read Not Healing Our World, another one Ian talks about, the Rue Arts. Anyways, and that's
that is Healing Our World.
Oh, no, not Mary Ruart. My bad. It's
the Tannehills?
The Tannehills. I read that one.
The Market for Liberty?
Yeah, I've read multiple Lysander Spooners, so I just I don't feel like it. I started to read
I'm generally with you because I've read it, and so I understand the philosophy, and I don't think I need another philosophy lesson.
Right.
Right.
But so what I was going to say about Rothbard, though, I'm pretty sure it's him and not Mises, wrote this article that is about this exact conversation. It's like the little steps are the big steps, and he made a point that he made his case in this article that I really do agree with, and I like in my brain it's like this makes total sense. He says like, oh, little steps, you shouldn't be arguing over little steps, because you'll say, hey, we should bring taxation down to like 5%, please, and they'll say we'll only do it down to 10%, and then you're continuously getting taxation, which is still bad. You need to start off at 0%, and then maybe they'll bring it down to like 0%, but even if they don't, maybe they'll bring it down to 1%. So that's like that theory. I totally agree.
So,
but I don't know if it works. Like,
but the parties, right, have changed over time. So the Republican Party is not what it used to be. The Democrat Party is not what it used to be. So if you get the Republican Party to take little steps towards liberty, eventually, if they take enough steps, that party will become more liberty centered than it used to be.
And the other thing is, I don't think
it's going to get usurped. The Libertarians are going to get usurped into the Republican Party and just turn into GOPers.
Just don't be usurpable, you know? Like I'm not usurpable. I don't understand why, like I've heard other people make that exact, in fact, I was looking at somebody who said that exact thing
because
today.
It's political capital. You get into office, and then you go like, now you got to vote with the Republicans on Republican things that may not be Libertarian things, so they vote for your Libertarian things later.
I really do not care. I don't know why people make that excuse. If I was in office right now, there's no way that I would do things I didn't want to do because other people would be mad at me. I don't care.
It's
I've never
not that
cared
they're
about
going to be mad at you.
popularity.
It's that you're not going to get your thing passed, and your thing will give us a lot more liberty.
Yeah, I've heard about that too, and it's just like, well, get more activists on your side to tell, like, that are voters, and tell people like, hey, you need to pass this thing because I want you to. I just think it's so silly, and it does seem like a lot of people, when you actually get to talking to them, they're like, well, I have to go see these people all day, Bonnie. They've said stuff like that to me, and like Ian. It seems like they're just kind of like a bit spineless.
It's the negotiations that happen on the golf course, not in the House.
Well, we have some callers on the line. I do like the conversation, but I don't want to make them wait too long. Let's go to this unscreened caller. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, look.
Should have made him wait.
Yeah, I wanted to go with Turd first, but I figured since he didn't put... Never mind.
Okay.
Whatever. I wasn't sure who this was.
Before you say anything, Skeeter, I want to ask a question, and I want a direct answer to my question, and then we can move on. What did you call in to talk about?
I called in to talk about a justice system under true capitalism.
Okay, so let's stick to that.
We're
going to talk about the justice system under true capitalism. Go.
Yeah, so I just wanted to address the fact that you guys don't know what you guys are talking about.
When it comes to the justice system under true capitalism, what have we said?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even think I said anything about that.
What have we said that you wish to refute?
The fact that you're trying to make sense of restitution/insurance scheme, which is inherently unstable, and you guys don't understand what's that? You don't understand what capitalism is. Oh, I think 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so what did we say about the insurance and restitution scheme that you wish to refute?
So I already explained how it's unstable, what fallacies it incorporates.
Well, again, for the listeners who haven't heard or don't care to listen to you, what did we say about restitutions and insurance schemes that was fallacious in your mind?
So first, restitution is sunk cost fallacy. It doesn't maximize production because you don't look at who's the most productive with the property, right? The thief can be more productive with the property. And in that instance, if he steals property, it's just theft.
Okay.
It's theft that society will be happy with.
And I think we would disagree. Right. Like, you're not wrong. We would just disagree with your assessment because we believe in property rights. And so if you take someone else's property, no matter if they're going to use it inefficiently compared to you or not, it is theft. And as far as justice is concerned, as far as restitutive justice, it is to make the victim whole again, not necessarily to maximize efficiency.
I understand that thinking. Okay. That's your cultural brainwashing from growing up in democracy. That's not market thinking. That's not capitalist thinking. Capitalist thinking is profit driven. Purely profit-driven, evolutionarily profitly driven, right?
No.
This whole thing about rights, restitution, is a democratic fantasy, right?
No, it's a property rights thing.
I hate how he says right about things.
No, I do that too, but it's yeah, right. He said I do it too because it's a technique to get you to buy in.
I know that's a technique, and that's why I hate it. It's
that's why you got to stop him when he says it.
If I was saying something I know you disagree with and saying like, well, women are so much better than men, right, Richard, right?
Right, and then that's why
you said you're right.
Right, but that's why you have to stop him right there and refute it. So every time he says it, I go, no.
He does it, and the more we point out that he doesn't, maybe he'll stop, like, because it doesn't work. But I'm sorry, I just really don't care about this topic. But you can go ahead and keep talking about it with Rich.
Some characters might care. I mean, some characters I'm looking at.
No, literally, somebody called in yesterday and said to please not talk to Skeeter that much anymore. So I don't know who said made you think that they care.
He's not speaking for your entire audience. I have a fan base.
You're like you've got like the 2024 Razzie Award for worst caller of Free Talk Live.
You guys are just not sophisticated to appreciate my message. This is very sophisticated stuff, right? Like there's no demand.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, it's not sophisticated at all. It is fallacious. Axiomatically.
We ended our conversation before about insurance with demand, right? There is no demand for restitution. Right?
There's absolutely demand for restitution because victims want to be made whole.
That's so stupid. There were literally like a bunch of people that came into Ian's restitution hearing sentencing hearing with demanding restitution. So, I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's all dumb. It's because you don't have to pay for it. It's democratic thinking.
The person who has to pay for it is the person who did the harm.
Everybody who endorses things because they don't have to pay for it. I want.
Why would I need to pay for my restitution? That makes no sense.
Say it again. You're talking over me. I can't get you only allow me to get one sentence across before.
I'm just like I'm bored of this.
That's because your one sentence makes so little sense.
It's like
you have to break it down structurally to refute every piece of it.
It's like you can, if you just like say something that he disagrees with, he acts like that is some kind of like exactly the same as just like talking like over him because we're not just agreeing with him, and I can't deal with that. Like, I don't want to talk to him.
We interrupt a lot, but that's the nature of talk radio.
Well,
that
you
exactly.
Can let him talk
like
for 5 minutes, he'll be like, I didn't even get to say what I wanted to say.
I did. I platformed it on my podcast for a full hour.
And he's also just
I said, like, my co-host didn't show up. I don't want to carry this show. Like, you go. And he was like, I'm unprepared, man. I don't know if I can do it. So,
oh my God. He's also just like repeating himself a lot. And if you're like saying something you've said 3 times, I really don't care if I say something in the middle of your sentence.
Yeah.
But we have another caller, Turd Ferguson from Pennsylvania. What's on your mind, Turd?
A few things. So, speaking of Murray Rothbard, I'd really recommend the book, What Has Government Done to Our Money, which is a great book.
It's a very thin book, too. You can finish that in like one sitting.
It is, yeah. You could read it pretty quick if you sit down and focus. And it's really good.
I sit down and focus on reading things all the time, and it's things I'm interested in now that are not just freaking libertarian theory. Do you see what I mean? It's like I only have so many hours in the day, and I really am interested in like nutrition and just other things. Right. I'm just so tired of this.
But if his comment wasn't directed at you and just for the listener, it's a really easy read, and you can sit down in one sitting.
He was talking to me because like it was specific to what I said.
Yeah.
So
but we also have an
audience.
Wasn't.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying he also called.
Maybe. Me. Who knows in these days?
As far as the audience goes, if they don't really understand the way that the government and the Fed specifically has monetized the debt, and how the government actually forces us to use dollars, which they've outsourced the printing and management of to a private organization known as the Federal Reserve, I just really recommend that book.
And if you want a children's book, Whatever Happened to Penny Candy is another one that kind of explains that philosophy and theory.
I feel like there's lots of like videos that are better though too. I feel like a lot of people.
Whatever Happened to Penny Candy is
something like that. Yeah.
Is that the Tuttle Twins?
No. Predates the Tuttle Twins.
Oh.
The Tuttle Malia. I used to be pretty. I mean, I'm still pretty intellectually intrigued by Austrian economics, although I have to say I'm not really as big into it as I used to be. On the whole, I actually think that the Chicagoans, the monetarists, are the most correct. Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. I used to be like this big oh yeah, I love like Ludwig von Mises and Murray Rothbard and Friedrich Hayek and Bastiat. I used to be like all about those guys. And then I feel like I kind of grew up a little bit, and I
like Bastiat too. I listened to The Law like 4 times instead of just reading it. I feel like you got to listen more than once.
The problem with the monetarists is they lose intellectual consistency when they get to the monetary side of things.
So there's an open market slot out there in the world for somebody to make a podcast or a book or something teaching economics in a way that is funny and entertaining.
I thought that was what Contra Krugman was, but it's definitely like the thing is, like, when I was listening to Contra Krugman, I was super new to economics, and tons of it went over my head. And I think some people just can't handle not automatically understanding things. So I would listen to episode after episode, and certain things would start to click. And then I was like, now I really want to understand. So then I listened to Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, I think twice.
And back in the day, that used to be Free Talk Live.
If that would be boring to me, I have no, in my opinion, I have no incentive to go on the air and teach something like that to people. There's so much more that's encompassed in my belief that we need human freedom,
I get it. But what Free Talk Live used to do was Freedom 101. And then so whatever the topic of the day was, whatever you called in about, whatever problem you had with the world that the government was the problem of, Free Talk Live was like, well, here's the problem, here's the solution, and here's the resource if you want to dig further into it.
I feel like we basically do that every day. Yeah. It's just like not...
But now we do it twice a week instead of 7 days a week.
Yeah, but I don't think that really changes what we're doing.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that we're not doing that anymore, is what I'm trying to say. I think that we're still saying, hey... here's a world solution. Here's the world. I mean, a world problem. Here's the solution through our lenses. Like every single time we sit down and do the show.
Right. But then here's the resource for you to like get the 102 and 201.
I've mentioned like maybe 10 books at this point today. Okay. And the other thing is just like nobody asked. Sometimes we're just talking about stuff that's happening that Trump's doing.
Yeah. So here's the problem. Here's the solution. Go ahead, Turd.
Yeah, I don't know what this I don't know what the solution is, but I'll tell you what the problem is right now. So again, as always, around end of January, early February, Congress starts talking about the national debt, and even the progressives seem actually surprisingly a little bit interested in it. They're actually mentioning the word national debt. And inevitably, in the next 7 to 14 days, we're going to hear something along the lines of hashtag mint the coin, which is basically, in my opinion, the most absurd, idiotic, Fantasyland, Candyland economic pipe dream.
Dude, you just print the $35 trillion coin and you eliminate the debt. And what's the problem with that?
I've heard people say it wouldn't be as bad as like Turt is saying, but I don't know.
Well, they actually have no idea what they're talking about. And I'll actually tell you what. Well, first of all, let's just
from the Chicago school.
Let's just ignore all the ways that this could completely screw up the economy, because there are some people that believe that it wouldn't.
But it's so screwed up,
Yeah, but it would make it way worse. Trust me. But let's just say this. They actually don't even have the legal authority, unlike many people's opinions on this, people who don't know what they're talking about. They don't even have the Treasury doesn't actually have the legal authority to mint a coin and pay off the debt with it. And I'll explain why. Because and this is all based around this law where that they want to take advantage of, basically, that says that the Treasury can theoretically create like commemorative coins, right? Which the Treasury's been doing forever. But the problem is, ever since the Fed Act was passed in 1913, now what has to happen before the Treasury can mint any money, even commemorative coins, the Fed has to issue a print order and give it to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing before the Treasury can mint or print any money. So let's just say the Fed sends out a $100 print order over to the BEP, okay? Then the BEP can say, okay, well, we're gonna print 2 20s and 2 10s, and we're gonna do $40 in commemorative coins. Then they can do that, but the Fed has to order it first, and the Fed is beholden to their private shareholders, which is its member banks. And there's no way that the member banks who own a lot of this debt, as well as the American people, are ever actually going to allow them to basically just cancel the debt is really what this would be. It would be either a cancellation, or they would have to literally just pump liquidity into the market to pay off all the bond.
What's wrong with Jubilee? Just cancel it, start all over.
Why do you think there's no way the banks would do that? Like just
because they have skin in the game. They bought the treasuries, and they're not going to lose the money. Or
just because of treasury bonds, you're saying?
Yeah, well, they buy them because they buy debt. They expect to be paid back at interest.
Do they? I mean? Okay, so yes. You're not okay. So here's the thing: you're not wrong.
What, do you think they're doing it for free?
Well, you're not. Here's the thing: you're not wrong, and
I'm right.
Yes, fine, you're right. But when one of the things that happens, even with like regular businesses, is they make bad investments, right? Or they lose money, and on their balance sheet is like accounts receivable and uncollectible debt.
Rich, if you want to default on the debt, then we can have that conversation. And by the way, that might actually be the more.
How is that different from printing the coin or repudiating it or Jubilee? It's all the same.
Because one's inflationary and it's going to completely turn America into Venezuela, and the other way is.
Do you want to stay on? Sorry. Do you want to stay on, Turd? All right, I'm going to put you on hold. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up. More talking about the debt. Can it just be erased like that? Turd says no, not without turning us into Venezuela. What do you think? It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which has sold out in recent years. Fork Fest happens the weekend before the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 13th through the 16th. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 13th through the 16th. forkfest.party.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the United States' top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be, quote, some pain for Americans. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she didn't want conflict with the US, but would take measures to defend her country's interests. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he would match Trump's 25% tariffs on a raft of US products and materials. Canada's ambassador to the US, Kirsten Hillman, told ABC's This Week that these tariffs will jeopardize the close economic relationship the two countries share.
Canadians are perplexed, I think disappointed. We view ourselves as your neighbor, your closest friend, your ally. We will be implementing 25% tariffs on U.S. products. This is not something that Canada wants to do. This is not a path that we are interested in going down. We are actually interested in being and continuing to be your best customer.
Meanwhile, China says it intends to file a lawsuit against the US in response to President Trump's announcement of a 10% levy on Chinese imports. Scott Carr reports from Washington.
Calling the new tariffs a serious violation, China's Commerce Ministry says in a statement the lawsuit will be filed at the World Trade Organization and that China will take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its own rights and interests. In 3 executive orders, President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and raised tariffs by 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday.
US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. Last week, 67 people were killed when a helicopter and a passenger jet collided mid-air over Washington, D.C., and 7 others were killed when a small plane crashed into a street in Philadelphia. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Secretary Duffy said the system needs overhauling.
We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system. Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II.
US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said that immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Secretary Noem insisted that immigration and customs enforcement officers were only targeting suspected illegal immigrants who'd committed crimes.
If you look at what we are doing today as targeting the worst of the worst, we've been very clear on that. The priority of this president is to go after criminal aliens that are making our streets more dangerous.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Today, fresh questions about whether the war between Russia and Ukraine really is heading towards a conclusion. President Trump indicated on Friday that discussions are underway at a high level between Moscow and Washington. He would not be drawn on whether he has already spoken to Vladimir Putin about the need for peace negotiations. But some analysts are wondering whether there really is sufficient impetus for the Kremlin to wrap wrap up its military campaign. Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell is a military analyst and co-host of the Red Matrix podcast.
There was a hope that Putin would be prepared to negotiate with Trump, but the question is why? At the moment, Russia is on the front foot. It is winning. Ceasefires generally only happen when one side wins, the other side loses, or you end up with stalemate. It's a boring military strategy, but the fact is Russia used to do frontal assaults. Now they're encircling villages and towns along the way, strangling the Ukrainians out of them. Now, this takes months, normally 6 to 9 months, but the Russian military are going ahead. So there's no evidence at all that the Russian military are preparing for a pause anytime soon, despite the fact there's a lot of sort of air of expectation that Trump will be able to bring this all to a halt, and very soon.
It will fall to retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg to see whether Moscow and Kiev can be prodded to the negotiating table. He is President Trump's new special representative to Ukraine and Russia. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
Our main news again. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the US's top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be some pain for Americans. US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. And US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. And that's the latest feature story news. Kate Fisher reporting.
Federal authorities are currently on high alert in Washington, D.C., following reports that hundreds of crazed sociopaths infiltrated the congressional chambers this morning. Mary Canley, a Capitol employee who managed to escape the House chambers, described the troubling scene to reporters.
I saw all of them. About 400 to 500 completely deranged people just rambling on about guns, the military, and money.
Investigators say the lunatics, many of whom are believed to suffer from severe personality disorders, have locked themselves in the chambers for hours now, with no clear purpose or reasoning.
I looked at one of them right in the eyes, and it was like he was empty on the inside, devoid of any emotion or feeling. It was horrifying. It's only a matter of time before they do something that really hurts someone.
We believe these men to be manipulative and extremely dangerous. Luckily, they are also very disorganized, and there is a chance they may never be able to ever take any action at all. For more on this developing story, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160 is the phone number here. You can call in with whatever is on your mind. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Windows, Android, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. And with you on Free Talk Live, you've got me, Bonnie,
Laurie,
and Rich.
And we do have a caller on the line, and Turd Ferguson from Pennsylvania is talking about his reasoning for why he believes we cannot just mint a coin that's, $37
trillion.
I was like, but I forgot it's $1 trillion for a second, in debt and just paid off like that. And I totally understand that it is like ridiculous and it would be inflationary. I totally understand all that. I just don't know what would happen. And Turd is saying,
is it inflationary though?
It wouldn't it be because
yes, and I'll explain why.
It would be in circulation, right? Sorry.
No, it would be like a coin from the mint that just goes to the Fed and goes like, you're paid.
Wait a second. I just thought of something, Turd, before you continue. If it's just one coin that's $37 trillion, it couldn't really enter the
that's the idea.
The market again.
They mint a $37 trillion coin from the Treasury, hand it to the Fed, and wipe out the debt.
And that's the thing. The Fed couldn't then go like, oh, now we're going to start buying stuff with this, because how do you buy something with a $37 trillion coin?
You don't.
So that's actually a great idea, or a great point. But I do. So that's the thing.
We've got a whole coiner on the panel now, turd.
I've heard people on this topic before kind of convince me it's not a bad idea. So, turd, I want to know why do you think it's ridiculous?
Okay, who owns? Do you know who owns the Treasury? Okay, the way that
actually, nobody knows, right? Isn't it?
Why are you getting all flustered all of a sudden, turd?
Oh wait! Sorry, I said you said Treasury. We don't know who owns the Fed. That's different.
It's the member banks. It's these shareholders of the member banks.
Wait, which one?
Yes.
The Fed.
Who owns the Fed? The Fed is owned by the banking cartel.
Yeah, but we don't know who those people are, right? We don't know.
Like not
the
individual.
names.
I mean, there's like the Fed. There's the different
banks,
city
but not
Fed
the
banks and the
individuals.
president of the Fed banks.
Yeah.
Like it's easily accessible. I don't know them offhand, but there are names attached to it.
I always hear this idea that we don't know the names.
Okay. Well, like look up the president of the
maybe
St.
I'm
Louis
thinking
Fed.
IMF.
Well, it's Wells Fargo and Bank of America and J.P. Morgan. I mean, it's the incorporations that own the stock shares of the Fed, and when the Fed pays out dividends to its shareholders, the member banks, it goes right into the accounts of these member banks, and then where it goes from those accounts and the member banks, and nobody knows. It's a mystery. Gee, I wonder if it goes right into the pockets of the executives of the banks. But anyway, so this is why this is ridiculous, and it would be inflationary. The Fed doesn't own all the debt, first of all, and even if it did, it still wouldn't work. But the debt is owned by a combination of foreign governments and private investors, your parents, our siblings, our cousins, our older family members. It's owned by the banks too, other countries. It's owned by a lot of people. And if you just deposit a coin into the Fed, you still have to figure out a way to pay off all the people that own the debt. And the only way to do that is the Fed is going to have to inject liquidity, massive amounts of liquidity into the market to pay off the shareholders. So the idea that we can just mint a coin to pay off the debt as if the Fed owns all the debt, and if they just like magically like.
Well, what if the Fed accepted that? Then what are you going to say to that? Because then like that's their problem for the shareholders. You know what I'm saying?
They wouldn't accept it because they can't do anything with $1 trillion coin.
You're saying they wouldn't accept it, but that's an opinion.
Because the only way that they could actually spend $1 trillion coin anyway is to print out massive amounts of money and make their own money worth less.
Well, no.
Why?
They're not supposed. They don't. You don't have to print it out. It's paying back the debt.
Basic economics here. What are you talking? No, money's only good. Money is only good. Fiat currency is only good if you can buy crap with.
Look, they inflate the currency by printing out. No, you hold on. They inflate the currency by printing out money, like money as debt. Right. The debt is created then. When you repay the debt, you don't print out more currency. You just deposit it or destroy it. So they accept this $37 trillion coin, they throw it into the volcano of fire, right? And then it's gone. The debt is paid. You don't have to issue new debt. It's just gone.
Imagine throwing that into a wishing well.
That doesn't work. You have no idea. You're either being sarcastic and disingenuous, or you actually have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I'm saying if money is created out of thin air, when you pay the debt back, you can destroy the money and turn it deflationary.
It's printed out of thin air only when the Fed goes into the secondary market, because it can't just buy debt directly from the Treasury.
And so when the debt is repaid, you just destroy it. That's what I'm saying.
The thing that I think is that once you say it like that, I start to think, but then the Fed's definitely not going to agree to that. That's what I start to think. It's like that sounds like something that somebody that wants to be like a hero would do, and I don't think the Fed's that person.
That's how you reverse. That's how you reverse the inflationary trend. Like this was an article on Mises several years ago that I came across because my buddy of mine was like, no, this is totally going to happen, and I didn't believe him. And then like Mises wrote the article. And it was inflationary monetary policy with stagflation or deflationary results, because all the new money created was used to pay off debt and then not reissued. So if you have 37, that's what the article said. Like this is what I'm saying.
Skeeter.
Yeah, don't be like Skeeter. You can repay a debt and then destroy it, and then it's not inflationary.
Richie Rich. This would only work if one entity held all the debt and then you gave them $1 trillion coin. That's not the way our economy works.
Yeah, but you're saying like grandma and grandpa own the debt. Like they don't own the debt. I don't own the debt.
Of course they do. They own bonds and T-bills and notes, just like every other person who buys Richie Rich. I think you have a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the economy actually works. Okay?
No.
The way it works.
No.
No, it has to be like no.
What,
yeah.
I'm wrong?
What?
Richie Rich, the way it works is
what I started to explain before the break was also that sometimes you make bad investments, right? And you have to write off that debt. So if grandma and grandpa are holding a T-bill that they thought they were going to get paid on, and you pay off the debt and destroy it, and they just don't get paid on it.
No.
Well,
no.
Yeah, if you go through a legal, if the United States were to go through a legal bankruptcy process, then they could do that. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about
it's the same result
to pay off the debt. No,
it's the same result. You mint the coin. You pay off the debt. You write off the debt. You call it bad debt. Either way, it's not really getting paid back, right? It's just off the books.
Sure, it is. I mean, you can print a bunch of money and pay it back, but the money's not worth anything, and everybody's poor. But if you
print more money, then again, it's inflationary. But with deflationary results, if you use it to pay off the debt and then destroy it.
No, who's going to destroy it? The people. Everybody's broke.
Whoever's holding the $37 trillion coin.
Their next loaf of bread, Richie Rich.
This is where accounting in college lost me, because they brought up the concept of like bad debt allowance, and I stopped paying attention. And
I'll explain it to you.
You don't have to, because they explained it, and I just thought it was dumb. I understood it, just thought it was dumb.
Well, why don't you tell us what it is?
I'm trying to, but he keeps talking.
Yeah, give a second, turd.
So. This is when you have uncollectible debt on one side of the balance sheet, and because in accounting both sides have to balance, you have to create an account on the other side to make it balance. So if you have uncollectible debt, you create an account on the other side called bad debt allowance, and you just wipe it off the books. The debt disappears.
You're talking about private entities that don't.
Which the Fed is a private entity that's carrying a bunch of debt.
They issue the currency though. The Fed can't default on anything if it could just print the money. It would have Congress would have if we wanted to go bankrupt and default on the debt. The only legal way for the United States to do that would be if Congress passed a law.
It's not even a bankruptcy though.
Overriding A, the 14th Amendment, and B, the Fed Act of 1913 that said, okay, we are repealing both of these things and we are declaring national bankruptcy.
It's not a bankruptcy. It's just a line on the accounting books that says bad debt allowance.
What's the 1913 Fed?
The Fed Act of 1913 explicitly
when a private corporation has uncollectible debt, they're not bankrupt. They just don't have as much money as they thought they did.
Private corporations can't mint currency. Only the Fed can.
What's that have to do with putting a column on the other balance sheet of the Fed?
I'm trying to tell you that, and you keep cutting me off.
Because it doesn't make sense. The Fed has an account that says, like, this is all the debt, and then they put on the other side bad debt allowance, and they wipe it off. And if that that's a coin being minted.
And the other thing is, this is all dependent on just like the trust of the American people. Do you think the average American's going to go like, "Hey, wait a second, I just did some math. The dollar's worthless now"? No, they're just going to continue to trust.
It's already worthless. It's like worth 1% it was when it was first issued,
and they're just going to continue
cares.
to be fine with using it. Honestly,
Richie Rich. I paid my electric bill earlier with the worthless money, so obviously it's not worth it yet.
It's worth 1% it was. It's worth 1% of what it was when it was first issued.
With all the stuff that's happened to it, which you would be screaming if this was 2000, you'd be like, no, if they did all of this stuff, that has happened from 2000 to now, it would be worthless. But no, you're actually still paying your rent with it. Do you see that was my point?
And if they collect the debt, and wipe it off and destroy it and make the currency deflationary.
You saying you're still spending it is not a counter to my point. It is making my point.
And also, if you pay off the debt and then not issue new currency, it becomes de facto deflationary and will make the dollar increase in value.
But the only way, there's only two ways that they can get out of this.
You keep saying that, but they're throwing around the mint a coin thing, which you have a problem with.
Who is throwing that around?
It's been around forever.
Okay, I didn't know if that was something like maybe Trump said.
This was Obama era, like pay off the debt stuff.
Okay.
No,
and probably before that.
But like not just like people like us. You mean like people in the government have been throwing it around?
Commentators of all
kinds. Paul Krugman was the one that came up with this idea originally, of course, because what other idiot would do it? But there's only two ways that we can get out of the debt besides paying it off, which we never will. We can either go through Congress to override the 14th Amendment and to repeal the Fed Act of 1913 to go through a legal bankruptcy process to default on all
or
the debt.
Trump executive order, since that carries the same weight.
That's the first way. And the other way is to inflate our way out of it. Those are the only two ways, and you got to pick the less bad one. And if you pick the worst one, which is we all become Venezuela, and by the way, that's probably what they're going to do. If they go ahead and mint a coin, then you have to pay. Then you have to, if you're the Fed and you're tasked with controlling the money supply, which is what they are, then the only way to do that is you have to pump liquidity into the economy to pay off the bondholders.
And that's the part I'm disagreeing with. You don't have to do that.
You can disagree with it, but you're wrong. I'm right.
No, because you don't have to. You don't have to increase the liquidity. You just default.
You're making an assumption that of what some people are going to decide is something that they're willing to do.
Well, it's the only things they can decide. There's only two ways to do it.
No, you just default on the bonds. You just don't pay them. Oops, sorry, you made a bad investment. You get nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's illegal. I mean, the only way for them to do that is, like I said, Congress would have to go through a legal bankruptcy process, and they'd have to say, okay, we're repealing the 14th Amendment of the United States, and we are repealing the Fed Act of 1913, and we are declaring bankruptcy, and everyone who invested in our currency is out their money. That is the only way they can do that, unless they do inflate the way out of it, and minting the coin might be part of that. And in my opinion, that would be the worst way for them to do it, but it's probably how they will do it.
If they mint the coin and then use that coin to increase liquidity, you're just going to double the debt.
Which they will.
Okay, but that's foolish, right? You have to collect the debt or write off the debt, and then not print it. You just destroy it.
What do you mean write it off? What do you mean write off?
Just what I said. I explained it earlier with the bad debt allowance. You go like, we got this uncollectible debt, and then we're going to balance the books by putting into account called bad debt allowance.
Do you think we should?
And then that's it.
Do you think we should?
You mean declare bankruptcy?
No,
because again, you have like corporations, which the Fed is a corporation, right? You can carry debt and write it off without going bankrupt. It's called bad debt allowance.
You can't write off debt that you don't own. If I own your debt, if I loan Richie Rich $1,000 to go buy a used car,
and I go, Turd Ferguson, I will never pay you back. You're not just going to carry accounts payable. You're not going to carry accounts receivable endlessly.
If you do that, then I get to take you to court and say Richie Rich entered a contract with me where he was going to pay me $1,000 with interest to buy a car, and he's just decided not to.
And you're never going to get that money. And this happens to corporations daily. You're never going to get the money.
You're an individual. And what the court does is they say, okay, you
corporations
got 30
are individuals,
days to give them your money, and if you're not going to do that, then we're going to send a team of appraisers and people with guns to take your stuff to make his debt whole. And if you don't do that, and if you resist, bad things are going to happen. That's what the court's
You think that the government is going to, like, a court is going to say that to the American people, like, that we're going to put a gun to you?
Even if that's his theory, right? The fact is corporations have debt on a daily basis that they know they're never going to collect, and they on the other side of the balance sheet, I don't know how many times I got to explain this to a monetarist Chicago school guy, on the other side of the balance sheet is an account called bad debt allowance. And it's just, we're never going to collect this. Now it's not on the books.
It seems like he thought you were saying, "Oh, we're never going to pay this."
No, we're never going. If you've got debt on, like a corporation, right? They're not bankrupt. Like, they've got thousands of dollars in assets, but $100 they're not going to be able to collect. Yeah. They got to get it off the books. They write it off. So if the Fed is sitting on $37 trillion of debt that they have to pay off to grandma or grandpa, right? Or whatever, whoever like owns the debt, you just write it off. Right, well, grandma and grandpa are never going to get paid from their bonds. It's just gone. It was a bad investment on their part.
It's so
just
weird
gone.
that we're talking about like grandma and grandpa when it's like mostly like like banks and stuff.
Well, because people used to buy government bonds, and it's not as big a thing as it used to be. I mean, there's a whole bond market.
They're not a good return. Well, I want to move on to a different caller because he's been patiently waiting, and Turd seemed to be going in circles there. So I think you guys got enough of that out. Thank you for the call, Turd. Let's go to Tim in Florida. Tim, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Just to follow up on Turd Ferguson, the size of the platinum coin that would be required to pay off such a debt, you should look up.
No, it wouldn't have to be that much platinum. It doesn't have to be that much. Yeah, they don't even do that with the pennies right now, or any other. I think any of them, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Then it wouldn't truly be paying off the debt.
It could just be like, it could be literally like made of
I used
plastic.
I used to have a Liberty dollar that was 1 ounce of silver that was stamped at $50. Silver's like never hit that threshold, but that was the MSRP on the coin. So you print like you could print it the size of a dime, and you just go 37 trillion, like legal tender, and then that's it.
And you can make it all in plastic. You
can do whatever you want.
do with the dollars. Actually, yeah, that's a really good point, dude. Like they put the dollars are not worth $1.
The size of a $100 bill is the same size as a $1 bill, yet somehow 100 times more valuable.
Plastic and pulp.
Whatever it is. It's all the same.
Lori had a story she wanted to bring up about Elon Musk, and I feel like that conversation, even though it's like kind of entertaining to know like or to think about like what would happen if we did that, if we paid all our debt off at once, and I just feel like there's a lot of, guessing, like we'd have to guess what someone else would do and we can't really know. So I want to get into the story that Lori wanted to talk about. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Apparently he's living in the White House.
Elon Musk's task force has gained access to sensitive treasury payment system, sources say. And this is from
his task force News. As in Doge?
Doge.
Yeah.
The Department of Government Efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Stellar work. Well, they find like $1 billion worth of waste so far.
Something like that.
Okay.
They did? I thought you were making a joke or something.
No.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what they've done with it, but that was the last report. Like we've eliminated $1 billion worth of government waste.
Wow.
The Department of Government Efficiency, run by President Donald Trump's billionaire advisor and Tesla CEO Elon Musk, has gained access to sensitive treasury data, including Social Security and Medicare customer payment systems, according to two people familiar with the situation. The move by Doge, a Trump administration task force assigned to find ways to fire federal workers, cut programs, and slash federal regulations, means it could have a wide leeway to access important taxpayer data, among other things.
So somebody authorized this? It wasn't just like a data leak accident?
No, yeah, it's I assume authorized. That
wow.
They're just
It's amazing that Musk is so close to Trump. He acts in official capacity and answers for the president.
I know, because somebody asked for Donald Trump to hey, you guys, Elon and Donald Trump on Twitter, you guys need to free Roger Ver. And first Elon Musk said, no. Will inquire. And then 2 days later he said, no pardon for Roger Ver. If you leave the United States...
membership has privileges.
Yeah, your membership within the United States have privileges, which is just how is he just answering for the president? That's horrific.
He's got a press secretary, and it's not Elon's decision, but he's the authority that we're taking the information from.
I really hated that.
Okay.
And the other thing is about this specific story. I mean, I had something I was going to say about it. I think that because we were talking about Doge in general, I think that another thing that I haven't been able to say on the show so far, it's I went on yesterday to say a bunch of things, but we had so many callers, way more callers than normal.
They all missed you from last Saturday.
I think that's probably what it is, honestly, which I don't blame them. That's fine. I like when there are more callers. But in this one specific instance, I had something I want to say. One thing is that Donald Trump, even if this was the only thing he's done, he got rid of so many of the government employees that he's legitimately doing something. And I am personally so happy that this is happening, because I lived on Dugway Proving Ground in Utah, and it's not just any military base, it's 90+% civilians. So some of those, they used to be in the military and they're retired and they're double dipping, got a government job. And some of them have never been in the military, they're just government workers, but they're all the freaking same. Okay, fine. I'll say 99% of them are the freaking same in entitlement, laziness, horribleness, and dumbness. Because they when I first started becoming a libertarian, I was like, hey guys, listen to this on my Facebook at the time. I just learned this from Tom Woods. They would come up to me in person and say the most low IQ things, and it always boiled down to, they were like, yeah, well, without the government, I'd lose my job.
I saw this thing. I don't know if I read it or I heard it, and I can't remember where, but it was something about the 8-1 rule in government efficiency, which is like for every 8 hours that they work, 1 hour of actual work is done.
Yeah,
oh my God.
That's most offices anyway. But I will also say, like, to tie it into the first story we did, fired a whole bunch of people in like the FAA, and then planes went down. So, timing,
yeah, but
coincidence.
He did fire a bunch of people in the FAA.
Even if he did, there was the Boeing stuff was under them too. They're supposed to care about that stuff and be like regulating that, and planes were flying out there then too. So it's 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live coming up.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Kate Fisher. US President Donald Trump has defended his decision to impose sweeping tariffs on the United States' top 3 trading partners, even as he acknowledged there may be, quote, some pain for Americans. In response, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she didn't want conflict with the US, but would take measures to defend her country's interests. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he would match Trump's 25% tariffs on a raft of US products and materials. Canada's ambassador to the US, Kirsten Hillman, told ABC's This Week that these tariffs will jeopardize the close economic relationship the two countries share.
Canadians are perplexed, I think disappointed. We view ourselves as your neighbor, your closest friend, your ally. We will be implementing 25% tariffs on U.S. products. This is not something that Canada wants to do. This is not a path that we are interested in going down. We are actually interested in being and continuing to be your best customer.
Meanwhile, China says it intends to file a lawsuit against the US in response to President Trump's announcement of a 10% levy on Chinese imports. Scott Carr reports from Washington.
Calling the new tariffs a serious violation, China's Commerce Ministry says in a statement the lawsuit will be filed at the World Trade Organization and that China will take corresponding countermeasures to firmly safeguard its own rights and interests. In 3 executive orders, President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and most Canadian imports and raised tariffs by 10% on goods from China starting on Tuesday.
US Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is calling for changes in air traffic control following a pair of aviation disasters. Last week, 67 people were killed when a helicopter and a passenger jet collided mid-air over Washington, D.C., and 7 others were killed when a small plane crashed into a street in Philadelphia. Appearing on CNN's State of the Union, Secretary Duffy said the system needs overhauling.
We can truly impact the efficiency and safety of the airspace if we upgrade the system. Our air traffic control system, it's antiquated. A lot of the systems we use date back to World War II.
US Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has said that immigrants in the US legally shouldn't fear authorities. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press, Secretary Noem insisted that immigration and customs enforcement officers were only targeting suspected illegal immigrants who'd committed crimes.
You know, if you look at what we are doing today as targeting the worst of the worst, we've been very clear on that. The priority of this president is to go after criminal aliens that are making our streets more dangerous.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, and 603-283-6160 is the phone number. That's 603-283-6160. Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it will cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you feel so inspired. And when you do that, you're open to being able to chat in the members-only chat. And Odyssey is run by Libertarians, and I love Odyssey and want it to live on. With you on Free Talk Live tonight, you've got me, Bonnie,
Lori,
and Richie Rich.
And we have a caller on the line. The number, if you'd like to call as well, is 603-283-6160. And unscreened caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, you were talking about the DEI stuff earlier.
Yeah, like how people are claiming that DEI, diversity... You're going to want to turn off the radio in the background because I can hear my voice back.
How annoying.
I don't have the radio on.
Oh, well, you're on speaker maybe?
I have nothing on. I'm on a speakerphone right now.
Yeah, the speakerphone is making it...
There is a little bit of feedback coming through somehow, some way, where we can hear ourselves after we've said what we said.
It sounds like it stopped.
Okay.
So thank you for that. So early in the... Just to catch up other listeners, we were talking about how other people were claiming that because of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Act, that is the reason why the female pilot ran into another pilot. What did you have to say about that, caller?
I don't know about you, but that DEI stuff that says that she got there because it's a load. Because she got there because she had the skills, she went through the training, and it's like, you got the skill, you got the training, you got the backbone, you did a good job, that's where she was meant to be.
There has been female pilots for a very long time, too. Like, in fact, females are mostly in the Air Force. So, like, there's been female pilots for a long time. It doesn't seem like it's something like... But I think there are certain things that it's harder for men and women to do. And honestly, if I had to pick and be like, it's really up to me, I think I'd rather be in a plane with a man driving it than flying it than a woman. But I also don't think that that's one of those things that I'm like, oh, that's something women should not do. They can't do that.
We went through this with affirmative action before, right? And now with DEI is anytime someone other than like a white dude is in charge of anything, you question whether or not they actually got there because of their skills and tenacity and power, whatever, whatever three things he said, or if there was a DEI hire and they just needed to fill a quota.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, that I feel like there really isn't a lot of weight to that because of what I'm saying. Like, there's always been tons of women in the Air Force.
Right.
And I hate to make news to y'all, but I've seen way too many white people of color, and everybody else in between that doesn't have the brains, and they still put them in big jobs.
So the problem with DEI, like why it gets such a bad rap, is because, yeah, you should hire women who are good at the job and capable and all of that stuff. But when you have a certain amount of slots that you need filled, the quality goes down because you need to fill those slots.
It really does suck that it's possible that any woman you see or any minority that you see is just as qualified or more qualified than anyone else. And now we have to think like this. But that's kind of an unintended consequence of this leftist sort of racist, sort of sexist idea that like people need extra help to get something that everybody else needs.
And I will also reiterate what I've said before. The reason for that is because for a long time, companies weren't hiring the best and the brightest. Because the best and the brightest were like female minorities, and they were hiring white people anyway.
I don't really know that I agree that there was ever such thing as like, oh, most people that were good at a thing weren't white males. Like, I'm not saying I don't agree. I'm saying I don't know. Right. And the other thing is I also think that what you're saying is a bit outdated, where it's like today, I think more people would go with whoever was best for what they wanted to hire for.
Yeah, well,
I really think most people would.
That's my thing. I don't think they need DEI anymore.
Again, my regular job won't hire female sales reps because they might get pregnant.
Yeah, but that is like a sales job. But when we're talking about something that's like running an equipment, like Jay Noon, he runs a farm and he talks all the time about how he thinks that a lot of the girls get there and do their job that he wants them to get done.
Right.
Just one other example. That's just one example. Here's another example.
Right. But if you're saying that companies don't think like that, I have firsthand experience of companies that still do think like that, and they can't be the only one.
Well, I actually think that's a bit of a different thing too. I actually
think like that.
Think that that's totally different as well. It's like it's a new little subcategory as well, because I think that it's totally reasonable to not want to, if your reason is we want a person who's there 24 or around the year, around the calendar, and women could get pregnant at this age.
Yep.
That's different than saying, well, this person's black. And well, they're both men, but this one's black. That's different than saying, oh, well, I don't think a woman could take care of a horse, like something like that women could easily do just as well as men,
Yeah,
like that
but
they
a
always
female
have.
could easily go out and sell stuff as easily as a man can.
Yeah, but
and she may not get pregnant.
You're not saying that they're doing it because they're saying, oh, women aren't as good at selling things. You're saying that they're doing it because of pregnancy, and that's a valid thing.
Yes, it is absolutely valid, but it illustrates the discrimination that still happens based on gender alone.
And they said specifically it's because they'll get pregnant?
Or
were they like, it's less safe for women to go door to door selling things by themselves?
No. I mean, I heard this secondhand from my boss who's no longer with the company, but the answer was, we don't hire women salespeople because they might get pregnant.
And
they don't
I'm
want to pay
saying
them for the time off.
That's far more reasonable than we don't hire black salespeople because they're black. Like, that is something I feel like isn't happening. The pregnancy thing is completely valid.
But the company, if the company is going to lose out on the most talented representative, if that person happens to be female,
how do you know that the talent actually them into consideration? No, how do you know that the talent actually outweighs the constantly having to rehire people because women are going away?
Because you don't know that they're even going to go away.
Also, if the company loses out on the most talented individual because they want to have restrictive hiring practices, then they're not going to be the most competitive business, and they're not going to reach their full potential. And so that's their bad.
You're right.
Let them do it.
You're absolutely right. I'm not saying they don't have a right, but these are the circumstances of which DEI was then created to address.
But here's what I'm saying.
It didn't need to be created, though. You could just let people do what they want with their own businesses, and then let the chips fall where they may.
I think we need to just drop pregnancy for a second.
Don't bake the cake for gay people.
No, like you're now making a point about gay people when the you only have a point about pregnancy, which is, in my opinion, totally fine for people to take that into consideration. And then you're saying, oh, that's evidence of people don't want to hire gay people. I don't see that. I don't know anybody like around my age especially, which matters more than like my great aunt, who definitely remembers not being allowed to do certain things because she is a lesbian and she's like 80 years old and always has been a lesbian. And even just being a woman, she told me about like, oh, and I couldn't get a bank account because I wasn't a married woman and stuff like that.
My point is that discriminatory thought process still exists. And in my personal example, it's against females.
But it's not just against females, it's against people who are going to have babies. Like, would they do the same thing to an 80-year-old woman? I mean, like, say a 60-year-old woman who's definitely hit menopause, not going to have a baby?
I don't know.
That changes things.
But we don't hire females.
Well,
so even if they applied, we wouldn't even talk to them.
That's what I'm asking.
What DEI enables is for it to go the other way, too. Like, so now, we're not going to hire you, Richie, even though you're the best person for the job, because Bonnie here also applied, and she's acceptable, so we'll take her.
Right.
Even though you're the best one for the job.
I get it.
So.
And then if it turns out Ian's vasectomy doesn't work and they have to hire you anyway. Okay, so let's go to another caller. We have David in New Mexico on the line. David, you're on Free Talk Live, and thank you for the call. Last caller, I didn't get his name. David, what's on your mind?
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let's fight. Fight. Come on, Bonnie. Bring it. Did you take your Percocet?
No.
No?
Just Kratom.
Oh, damn it. Kratom?
Yeah, but I'm going off Kratom. Some trolls might be surprised to hear.
You've been trolled?
Yeah.
Not controlled? Trolled, not controlled?
Because this is talk radio, you can troll.
You control it, baby.
I can't believe you just thought of that, Richie. That's so funny. You know what? I think that you're the funniest person on this call right now. David could never think of that.
Listen to Bonnie try to get them jabs in. Oh, that one hurt, Bonnie.
You challenged her to a fight. Now you're taking jabs.
Ow. Ow. Can I have some of that Percocet, Bonnie?
I don't have any Percocet. That was like 2015.
Bonnie. When you take the Percocets and it makes other people less annoying, does it also make you less annoying?
Oh, you're really mad at me yesterday, or because yesterday I said you're not funny?
Do I sound mad?
Yeah.
I'm just riffing on it. You want to not be mad? Okay. So what do you want to talk about, Bonnie? How about airplanes?
Let's call her Battle Angel.
Battle Angel. She's not Battle
That's
Angel.
the really
Battle
good
Angel's
one.
not
Oh, how do I
Battle
recover?
Angel.
I don't even know what the hell that
Battle
is.
Angel's not
I
here.
never learned.
Battle Angel is not on this call.
Oh.
Who was that?
Battle Angel then?
I thought it was me. I don't remember now.
Let me check.
No, there was some person
check.
in one of the chats, Battle Angel fan, and David was like referencing them.
Well,
Okay, why are we talking about the
on the
chats
call,
on
then.
the air, David? That's what I'm trying to tell people. I'm so annoyed that Mark thinks you're genuinely so funny. Because
You got one good joke when Mark was listening. That's why.
Exactly.
See, Bonnie, you have listening skill problems. Mark did not say I'm so funny.
What did
he
he say?
said you were so good at telling dad jokes, and it's not true.
No, he was talking about.
No, he literally said that. He literally said David likes to tell dad jokes, and he's good at it.
Let's replay the clip.
Fight. Let's break out the recording from last night. We'll
what I just said
analyze
is an exact quote, like for sure. And I can't break out the recording right now. I'm doing a radio show.
$1,000 cash that'll take that bet, Bonnie. You want it? You got 1,000 cash?
We've done bets on the show before.
No, I don't want
Okay.
to because I live.
We don't have to look it up now, but you guys
property.
can settle it off air.
No, I don't want to make that bet, but I absolutely know I'm right. I know I'm right, and I'm not going to make
Good
that
way
bet.
to make $1,000.
No, you're right.
I don't want David's money. David lives in the middle of nowhere. He probably needs that money to move to New Hampshire.
It's probably pesos with all of his neighbors.
I don't want your pesos.
You'd be surprised, Bonnie. You'd be surprised.
I'm not saying you're poor. I'm saying I don't want to take $1,000 from you when I know I'm right.
Well, you're not. Well, there's no danger of that, Bonnie. How about 10,000?
No.
Ooh.
How about 100,000?
If I was that confident, I would have accepted this bet.
Right.
No, seriously, I don't want his money. I don't need it, and he doesn't need to lose that much money. I know what happened. I was there, and you were listening. He said,
I don't remember.
I don't remember the exact
I don't
quote.
even remember his
and the
joke.
thing was like, if the quote was off by like, oh, he didn't say dad, he said dad like, I'm not going to lose $10,000 because that's stupid. I know exactly what he meant. And what he said was,
okay.
He said was, David likes dad jokes and he's really good at them. And I said, that is so annoying that you think that right now. What are you claiming he said?
Did you know that New Mexico is older than Mexico by 300 or so years? I did.
Okay, so we have Sarah from New Mexico online. That was annoying for one thing. Like I had.
I think it was your confidence about being exact on the quote.
What?
Whatever he said, you said that you heard it verbatim, and this was the exact quote. So even if it was different or like one word off, you would have lost the bet. And then you changed it up a little bit
But
to
what
say
do you mean?
what the
Like
meaning.
it was. What you're saying? What it was? Like,
Whatever-
that's what
whatever
caused David to not answer my question.
I don't know what the question was because we're
No,
talking
I said.
about the
So
bet.
what do you think he said? And he just started saying a stupid like history of New Mexico thing.
Okay.
So that's why I'm hanging up on
All
him.
right.
So we have Sarah in Mexico online. Sarah, what's on your mind?
Yes, I'm so excited. We got a sign up. We enrolled one of the ladies that I went to church with, and she's been taking her supplements for 3 months, and she actually lost 16 pounds.
Yay!
And you have a sign up? What does that
She
mean?
had someone sign up for her MLM.
I thought she was saying like in her neighborhood they put up a sign that said like don't paint the fence or something.
No.
Like something else related to the
Wet
neighborhood.
paint.
No, she had someone sign up for her MLM.
Congratulations, Sarah.
My network marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's
Multi-level
funny?
marketing.
She
same
lost
thing.
Your
one-
capitalist streak is coming out.
Well, she lost one dress size, and she's like, "Oh, I'm fitting into 4X, but I'm really at 5X." I'm like, "No,
That is a
you are
giant
a
woman.
4X now.
That is
You
really
lost
easy
one
to lose
dress
weight at that size, though.
And you said she lost 10
and
pounds?
I'm like, she doesn't know that she lost the dress size. No, don't you understand? You're fitting into 4X because you're no longer a 5X.
And
you
how many
lost
pounds
16
did you say she lost?
16 pounds.
When I was more
16
muscular, I
pounds,
used to
but she's
squeeze into a
What do you
medium.
call it? She's a denier. I mean, she doesn't believe it.
How do you know if she doesn't know?
She measures her when she's not looking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She's got like calipers and she sneaks up behind her.
Instead of a welcome mat, it's a scale. So as you're waiting for Sarah to open the door, she checks your weight.
Oh my God. I'm just so confused how Sarah knows this and that woman doesn't know.
Sarah has a part-time job at a carnival where she guesses people's weights.
No, but look, I'm telling her that you look skinny. I know that her tummy's got.
Well, then you're lying, because if she's a size 4X, she does not look skinny.
That's just propaganda at that point to sell more product.
So I can't believe, did you just say she lost 16 pounds in extremely exact weight, and then you're telling us that all you're going off of is what she looks like?
And her presumed dress size.
I think you can tell at that size if you lost 16 pounds by looking at someone.
Yeah, I'm going to keep talking for a second. I have a thing to Google.
That's a lot of pounds.
Your ankles look so much skinnier.
I'm telling her I could see that she lost weight on her tummy and her butt, and her thighs got skinnier. She looks taller, and then she says,
she looks taller.
I'm still 5X. I'm still 5X. I'm just wearing 4X.
So this says that typical woman wearing size 4X typically weighs between 270 and 325 pounds. Could you tell the difference between someone who was 325 pounds and I can't do the math right now? No, I was going to subtract 16.
325 and 306?
Yeah.
Oh, no. 309?
309?
No, I could not.
I could not.
Especially in this winter weather.
I'm just in shock that we actually pinned her down, and she actually admitted that she told us that this woman lost 16 pounds, and then she said, well, I can tell by looking at her. I can't believe that.
That's the communist streak coming out.
She was wearing black that day, so she looked thinner.
It was pinstripes.
If she looks taller, she probably would have gained like 20 pounds. Like, imagine if you gained 1 inch of height. You would gain so much weight if you think of 1 inch of like vertical body.
Maybe the first time she saw her was at the end of the day when she had shrunk from all the compaction of your spinal discs, and then the second time she was taller because it was early in the morning, and so she looked like she weighed less because her body fat was distributed more evenly over her entire body.
It's crazy.
No,
it makes as much sense as what she's saying.
Taller or not,
makes more sense.
Makes more sense.
That's plausible.
When somebody becomes skinnier, they look taller. That's what I'm saying. When you're like getting skinnier, your eyes.
Yes, because Bonnie looks extremely tall.
I just look so tall. People
you're
think
like 7 feet tall, right, Bonnie?
People think I'm like 7 feet tall because I'm just not fat. If I got fat, they would suddenly see how short I am.
Well, maybe she was slumped when she was carrying around 16 more pounds. It seems like she's standing up more because she lost weight.
When you're a size 4,
she lost the back hump.
16 pounds is not making any difference.
Wow. This is crazy. It's so funny. The little jokes made, like that she ran around with calipers and her welcome mat is a scale, is so ridiculous. I just wasn't expecting that.
She puts up signs at the way station.
This really reminds me of like all of the people that I grew up like and their parents were selling. Dang it, I forget what this one is called. There's this one.
Amway.
No, there's another one that has a similar name like that. No, but they claim that their supplement is more powerful than Adderall. Do you guys know that one?
Cocaine.
No. I can't remember what it's called. I feel like
methamphetamine.
It might have the word smart in it, where it's like smart way or something like that, but that's not it. But either way, and I've tried that little supplement because my friend's mom sold it, and I was like, this did nothing. And I do Adderall at school all the
Were you
time,
living
guys.
in Utah?
No, I lived in Texas. But yeah, lots of Utah moms like to do that.
Love their MLMs.
Maybe
Amway
is it starting to sound familiar, but anyways.
I don't necessarily have a problem with MLMs. It's all voluntary.
Yeah, I don't have a problem except that when they like do things are like I have a problem morally, not a problem like they should be. The government should step in. Yeah. And the reason is I've watched so many anti-MLM videos ever since it happened to me. Like I was in an MLM. And the reason I got in was I was approached by a woman in my small town the day after I made a vision board that said like second job on it. And she didn't know that or anything.
You were open to an opportunity and the universe presented itself.
That's what I believed.
Yeah.
And I was 20 or 19 and this woman in my small town told me like, do you want to join my company? And I was like, this is like my kind of like my prayer answered. And the more I got into it, the more I realized what was really going on. And I didn't really know about these things like that. Like I told you, my friend's mom did that in high school, but like I didn't know the ins and outs of how that business ran. I didn't know how the ins and outs of how any business ran because I went to public school in the United States most of my high school. Well, all of my high school.
My dad got into one, and he came to me for advice because I'm the business major.
Mm-hmm.
I said, like, if you want to make money, here's what you got to do. Like, your job is not to sell product. Your job is to sell the opportunity to sell product.
Your job is to sell yourself.
So if you're selling, if you're selling product, you're doing it wrong.
Sell your friendships. Because like you have to go on, Facebook and like force a bunch of people who actually liked you to stop liking you anymore.
I don't even know if Facebook was as big back then.
Yeah.
Well, but it was more like, the money is made by building your downline.
Mm-hmm.
And you build your downline by getting other people to sell the opportunity. So it's, that's the way to be successful. The successful people at the top of the pyramid, like, don't sell the product. They sell the opportunity to sell the product to other people, and that's the chain way down.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with them either. Like, they shouldn't be regulated, but I just think they're gross and scummy.
And there's all these like anti-MLM. It's kind of like the cops.
But there's a way to do it right, and you can make a bunch of money.
It's kind of like the way like the cops went after me. So then I was like, oh, does anybody else know about this? I broke even, by the way. Like I sold enough stuff to just break even, and then I got out of there, and like all my uplines were all like, oh no, Bonnie, don't.
Because you were focused on selling the product.
Yeah, that's what I did. I sold it to a few people, and then I was like, I'm out of here. And I feel even bad for selling it because I didn't actually believe in it at that point. Because I had some like friends who were like males who were like, why don't you ask your upline this and ask her that? And the one that I was in, I should mention, I don't mind mentioning, it's called It Works.
Okay.
And It Works sells these wraps that they go around your stomach, and they're not like, it's not like they squeeze. They just have these like essential oils on them, and you leave it on your stomach for like, I don't know how many minutes or how long, I don't remember now. Maybe let's say an hour. And then your stomach's supposed to look skinnier for a while, and then you're like, oh, sell this to people who are about to have a wedding. Do it the night before your wedding, and then you'll look skinnier at your wedding. And the thing is, like, everybody that's on takes before and after pictures and like convinces themselves, including me. I was like going back and forth. I was like, I think I look skinnier, and it's totally
like
impossible.
16 pounds skinnier.
So I brought this up to like some of I guess some of my friends started being like, hey Bonnie, I saw you posting those things, like you need to get out of that, it's a scam. And I was like, how do you think it's a scam? He's like, ask your upline how it works. It works. And she was purposely, I was like, can you send me like some kind of like paper that explains how this works? And she was like evading the questions, and that in that moment I was like, oh my god, I got like scammed.
I mean, wear like too tight socks, right? If you wear like too tight socks and take your socks off, it like looks a little bit skinnier.
That's kind of what I thought, but it doesn't compress.
Okay.
All it does is sit there, and they say that has something to do with the essential oils.
Okay.
If
But
it did, then it would just like last.
They should just let something
wouldn't look
compress.
skinnier for like longer than.
Yeah, it
10
doesn't.
minutes.
I think it's just that anybody can do this, and then start to convince yourself. You know what? I think I do look skinnier, and then you're like unconsciously or like subconsciously, like maybe standing up straighter.
I don't even know how those things sold because they already make corsets.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
wear one.
Just can't breathe in a corset.
I think it's because of lazy people. Because everybody that bought them
Have
from
you ever
me,
worn one?
Of course not.
You can breathe.
I'm a dude.
everybody that bought them from me was like the type to not like want to like work out to lose weight and be like, oh my god, yeah, give me some of that like magic pill type thing, you know. So and I only sold
that's
4.
enough.
I've only sold 4.
Oh man, corsets are great because like they make you stand up all super straight and like it's
awesome. Move all your organs up to your chest.
I saw this video that was like, oh, this is how every girl.
Someone's gonna want you to OnlyFans that now.
Every girl in a period piece from like the Victorian era acts, and she was like, I don't care. I don't want to wear this corset anymore. I don't care how snatched it makes me look. I want to wear trousers and be like the boys. And
wear corset and trousers.
That's true. It's been Free Talk Live. Thanks for listening. You can go to freetalklive.com for more. Find all the different ways to listen, and you can call us any weekend to get in on the air and get your opinion heard. I'm so glad that Ross is free. I can't wait to see what happens to him next. And thanks for listening. Peace.
The troll.
Never grocery shop when you're hungry. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. size. Money Talks News urges against serving size portions. They're convenient, but you're paying for packaging and the labor to assemble it, as you will see by comparing unit price with bigger sizes that you can baggy up yourself. And demote meat from its starring role to the supporting cast in tasty casseroles and soups and stews. Regardless of how carefully you shop, you're racing the clock because food expires. Slightly